At the Royal Night School, Idol Jiraha was called to the teacher's office, where he learned he had been officially expelled. The teacher explained bluntly that Idol's grades, classroom behavior, attendance, and overall performance were unacceptable for such a prestigious academy. When Idol asked if the teacher was essentially calling him worthless, he was told that with even a bit of determination, he might have turned out like his exceptional older brother. Idol was left speechless, but the teacher continued, making it clear that this failure wasn't the school's fault. When Idol defiantly asked if the teacher was just throwing insults to avoid responsibility, the teacher replied that there was no need to worry since Idol had always seen things clearly and never had the desire to improve. The teacher, seemingly amused, remarked that perhaps Idol still had some decency left in him before dismissing him completely, saying they didn't need someone worthless like him at their school. Idol said nothing more and left the room, unaffected, already thinking this was the end. He had once been a student at the Royal Night School and had graduated with distinction. His family, the Jirahas, had been knights for generations, so naturally he believed he would follow that same path. Yet here he was, questioning everything about how things had come to this. As he walked through the hallways, he imagined what others must be thinking about him now. He was the dropout, the expelled one, born into a prestigious military family but completely lacking in talent. To make matters worse, he was the younger brother of the genius Zawalis. In contrast, he had only brought shame to the knight's legacy. He wondered why he couldn't just disappear, not only from the school but from the world entirely. He could only walk in silence, glancing back one last time at the place that had cast him out. There was one more thing he had to do: tell his father the news. As expected, the head of the prestigious Jiraha house exploded in anger when he learned that Idol had been expelled. In his rage, he called him a useless piece of trash and informed Idol that his brother Zawalis was about to become the youngest knight captain in history. His other brother, Exer, had graduated from the night school as the top student and had already been appointed as a knight, which could be called decent progress. Compared to that, Idol had only betrayed his father's expectations. His father reminded him that both his brothers had been exceptional since childhood, surpassing even adults. Idol, on the other hand, could barely manage to keep up without falling behind. He couldn't even maintain decent grades at the night school, and now he had been expelled. Burying his face in his hands, Idol's father said he had had enough. Someone as incompetent as Idol needed to be disowned. He even remarked that he should have done it much earlier. He told Idol to consider all family ties severed and ordered him to leave and never come back. The man really walked into a conversation and walked out as an orphan. Idol stood frozen, accepting his fate. In truth, this response was exactly what he had expected. To his father, a son who couldn't become a knight had no value. Idol acknowledged his father's words and gave up the Jiraha surname. He thanked his father for everything, though deep down he felt a strange sense of relief at the start of a new life. As he left the room, he was immediately met by his younger sister, who asked where he was going. Idol didn't answer and simply said sorry as he left their home. He thought to himself that he wasn't worried about his sister and mother since big brother Exer would surely take care of them now. With both his home and school lost, Idol was left wondering where he should go next. As he wandered through the bustling streets, he decided to step into a nearby pub. Inside, a drunk old man called out to him, noticing how gloomy he looked. Idol was about to respond, but the man went on to say he couldn't help but laugh. Idol lightly noted that being laughed at like that would only make him more annoyed. As the old man continued laughing, Idol realized that he was actually a big shot from the Adventurers Guild. Not wanting to ruin the mood, Idol chose to play along. While walking around the pub, memories of his time at the night school came rushing back because of a certain trigger. He had given up on becoming a knight back then, and had felt completely hopeless and out of control. Just then, as he passed by a group of boys, he accidentally brushed arms with one of them. One of the boys called out to him, but Idol didn't stop. Suddenly, the boy grabbed him by the collar, tauntingly asking if he had anything to say. He demanded an apology, but Idol stayed silent. Without warning, Idol punched him, shouting that it was the boy who came at him. The guy picked the wrong sad boy to mess with. The sudden fight caused a stir in the pub, but before things could escalate further, someone stepped in and told Idol to drop it. It was the drunk man from earlier. The old man placed a hand on Idol's arm, noting that he was quite the hot-blooded youngster. Meanwhile, Idol was stunned, realizing that no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move his body. Just then, the old man insisted on taking care of Idol, much to the boy's annoyance. That night, the old man brought Idol to his home, where he asked for the young man's name, and Idol answered politely. The old man acknowledged his skills, though Idol didn't think much of them. Then the old man said that if Idol couldn't handle that kind of power, he should direct it elsewhere. He suggested becoming an adventurer, a suggestion that left Idol momentarily stunned. The adventurer business, which Idol had initially pursued just to vent his frustration, turned out to suit him more than he expected. He threw himself into it completely, neglecting his night training in the process. His absences increased and his grades plummeted. Trying to lift Idol's spirits, the old man explained that his loud, explosive laughter was his way of reminding others not to be too discouraged. But Idol wasn't discouraged, at least not in the way people thought. Then the old man mentioned that the party he had temporarily joined the other day had specifically asked him to approach Idol. They wanted him to join their team, impressed by how well he handled himself. Idol was shocked to hear it. The old man burst into laughter, saying that surprisingly, there were a few nobles who actually became adventurers, some even rising to A rank. On the other hand, there were also those who ended up bowing their heads in shame, called back home by their fallen noble families. Though the offer sounded nice, Idol asked the old man to politely decline it. The old man was surprised, asking if Idol truly wanted to live as an adventurer. Idol explained that there was something else he wanted to try, and for that reason, he preferred to continue working alone a while longer. The old man asked if it was about the original magic Idol had been researching. Idol confirmed it, explaining that it was called the bond summoning technique, and he intended to start training to master it. Because of that, he couldn't participate in any party activities. The old man acknowledged that this was Idol's life to live as he chose, but he still wondered how Idol planned to make a living. Idol replied that he still had the reward money from the wyvern subjugation the other day, so he'd be fine. The old man was shocked, knowing that hunting a wyvern was something only B-rank parties and above typically did. Idol confirmed it, explaining that he had simply joined a B-rank party for the task. What, like it's hard? He seemed to have a talent for reading others and matching their pace, easily adapting to any party he joined. However, he didn't think it was much of a skill, especially compared to his genius older brothers. That was why he had to follow his own path. The old man understood but asked if Idol was planning to hole up in the mountains. Idol responded that he was heading to the world's strongest magical domain, a harsh frontier that people could barely set foot in, the Idionir Great Tree Sea. The Idionir Great Tree Sea was said to be larger than the entire country Idol lived in, though its full extent remained unknown. Powerful magical creatures unlike any found elsewhere roamed freely within it. It was recognized as the world's strongest magical domain, and the border between it and the outside world was often referred to as the end of the world. The old man screamed in concern, begging Idol to stop. He asked if Idol understood how many adventurers had entered the Idionir Great Tree Sea and never returned. He pleaded with Idol not to give up on himself, but Idol only replied that he was different and that he wasn't going to die. He knew full well that the Great Tree Sea was not to be taken lightly. A few days later, Idol arrived at the border town of Betrinus. The area bordering the Idionir Great Tree Sea was heavily fortified with a massive fortress, clearly marking how dangerous the place was. Beyond that wall lay the Great Tree Sea of Idionir. As Idol stood at its edge, he sighed and reminded himself of his goal, to complete the bond magic. Back when Idol first became an adventurer, he studied various types of magic, but in the end, all of it felt half-hearted. Around that time, a mysterious bard approached him. The bard said Idol had talent. He could do all that he wanted, but he could never reach the pinnacle of anything. It was as if he had been born under such a star. Offended, Idol asked if the bard was looking for a fight, but the bard didn't argue. Instead, he calmly said that there existed a secret art, something only Idol could master, an ancient lost art that no one else could perform. The bard then sat down across from Idol, telling him not to be so cautious. He explained that this secret art existed in a completely different dimension from the magic currently known in the world. He called it the bond summoning technique, an ancient lost magic he had personally named. Just then, Idol asked if this man expected him to pay for lessons or buy bitter old textbooks. However, the bard simply said that if Idol could show him results with this secret art, that would be more than enough. Idol remained suspicious, but at the time, he had nothing to devote himself to. For that reason, he shook the bard's hand in agreement. Days passed, and eventually Idol learned the basics of bond magic, but by the time he had completed his training, the bard had vanished. Now Idol stepped into the forest, reminding himself that he came here to practice bond magic. That was his purpose. As he moved forward, he began observing his surroundings carefully. He could sense that something was watching him. He turned toward the rustling sounds, threatening whatever was there to show itself. But instead of an enemy, what appeared was a slime peeking out from behind a tree with its large googly eyes. Both Idol and the slime were equally startled, and they shrieked in surprise at the same time. Idol hadn't expected to see a slime here, especially not in a place as harsh and wild as the Great Tree Sea. The slime was known as the most popular, lowest ranking, and weakest magical creature, a semi-transparent gel-like being that could be found almost anywhere. Despite its low rank, it was known for its high versatility. Then, without warning, the slime suddenly rushed toward Idol. He was shocked by how fast it was, but he was faster, managing to dodge the attack just in time. As the slime landed, it seemed to mutter something about making him fall. The day went on, and the two continued to fight relentlessly. By the end of it, Idol dropped to his knees, exhausted, claiming victory. This slime's strength was unlike anything he had encountered before. It made sense since this was the Great Tree Sea of Idionir. After all, he stood up, looming over the creature. It was still alive, though barely. Its tired eyes looked up at him, mumbling incomprehensible sounds. Idol figured it was fine if it was still breathing since he hadn't delivered a finishing blow yet. At that moment, he decided to try the bond summoning technique on it. Chanting the spell, he began forming the bond. His magic intertwined with the slime's life force, connecting them on a deep level. Neither was superior, and they stood as equals, bound by a sincere pact. Afterward, Idol cast another spell to stabilize the forming magic pathway. He hoped to gain the slime's aid and officially form a contract. With that, the bond was sealed. Suddenly, the slime bounced with energy, letting out joyful noises. Idol smirked, knowing his magic had fully healed it. He then checked on the slime, wondering how it was feeling. If the spell worked, the slime would now be his friend, and no harm would ever come to it. The slime paused for a moment, seemingly thinking, then out of nowhere, it slammed itself into Idol's gut. Shocked by the sudden hit, Idol began to worry that the bond summoning technique had failed. But the slime continued to bounce around happily, as if overflowing with excitement. It wasn't hostile at all. If anything, it behaved like a playful dog. Realizing this, Idol suddenly stood up and shouted in joy. The spell had worked. The slime also celebrated, making strange but cheerful noises. Idol knelt down to meet its gaze and quietly asked it to take care of him from now on. The first stage was a success. In this form, the bond resembled a demon tamer's pact or summoning magic, but Idol recalled the bard's words that bond magic was an ancient secret technique, fundamentally different from the others. Traditional summoning spells called forth spirits, phantom beasts, or demons. However, bond summoning targeted something else entirely. Beings that shouldn't exist in this world, creatures from a lost world. At its core, the essence of bond summoning was about forging a true connection, starting with forming bonds with monsters. The bard once told Idol that the bond summoning technique, commonly known as bond magic, shouldn't exist in this world. It had the power to summon inanimate objects, and was the only known method of bringing things from the lost world into this one. In other words, summoning from another world could lead to the discovery of unknown minerals or strange, unfamiliar properties. Since it hadn't even been passed down as legend, It was clear that this wouldn't be something easily understood or mastered. The developer of the bond summoning technique must have taken that into consideration. A yosa capable of summoning things that shouldn't exist in this world. Idol realized that this might refer to an entity, which surprised the bard because Idol had figured it out. That yosa was the slime, his contracted monster, a being considered to be from beyond this world. Bond magic relied on the connection with a monster as the foundation to summon substances that didn't exist in this world. At that moment, Idol asked the slime to lend him some of its power. The slime agreed, and the bond summon began. Then something unexpected happened. Idol discovered he could summon a water pet bottle. He understood the word water, but the rest of the words didn't make sense to him. The slime tried to explain, but its language was mere gibberish. A screen appeared asking if the item should be summoned. Though unsure, Idol agreed. Just then, a bottle appeared in his hand, startling him. It was cylindrical and crystal-like, with a texture unlike anything he'd ever felt. The slime continued to make noises, and eventually Idol understood what it wanted. He held the tip and twisted it. To his surprise, the top spun off, and he realized it was some sort of cap. He had never seen anything like it before. Water itself was familiar, but this water was completely clear with no scent at all. As he tasted it, his eyes widened in shock. It was cold and delicious. Amazed, Idol offered some to the slime. It jumped with joy, and he poured the water over it, instantly soothing the creature. At that moment, Idol realized just how precious water truly was. During his adventures, they would often choose base locations based on nearby water sources. If the water ran out, the quest would come to a halt. But now, as long as his magic held out, Idol could summon water anytime, removing that worry entirely. Still, he wondered if the pet water bottle would disappear once the water inside ran out. Then another thought came to him. If he could form contracts with more monsters and increase the types of bond summons available, he might be able to summon even more impressive things. With that goal in mind, he decided to challenge various monsters. Later that day, Idol ventured deeper into the forest. He had just defeated a massive snake, which confirmed that he and the slime made an excellent team. Confident, Idol attempted to form a bond with the snake. However, a screen appeared informing him that his summoning magic level was too low. At present, he could only form a contract with one monster. Realizing this, Idol understood that he needed to level up before forming more bonds. Determined, he set his sights on battling more monsters to gain experience. The slime, eager to help, bounced with excitement at the prospect of leveling up together. Meanwhile, at the Royal Night School, Idol's teacher, Zarajesta, boldly announced that he had good news. Idol Jiraha had been expelled. He declared that Idol had been deemed unfit for the prestigious school due to his lack of talent and ambition. Though this news was somewhat late, he felt it necessary to inform everyone. In his view, the presence of a dropout must have been unpleasant to witness. He believed it was a teacher's duty to create the best possible environment for students, and under his guidance, any student could grow into a splendid knight. At that moment, Prince Mashwada, clearly uninterested, responded coldly. He already knew everything the old man was yapping about. He was aware of all his foolish actions. It had been 5 days since Idol's departure, and it was more than enough time for the information to spread. At that point, even the castle rats knew the tea. Zarajusta stammered, unable to respond properly in front of the prince, who was not only the top student at the school but also the 4th prince of the kingdom, the most elite among elites. Zarajusta couldn't understand why someone of his status would care about a lowly student like Idol. Trying to diffuse the tension, he laughed and pretended it was expected from the prince, saying it was no surprise that even trash could catch his eye. He went on to flatter him, declaring that the nation's future was already in good hands and that he was honored to serve under such a remarkable prince. However, the prince remained unmoved. Mashwada looked at him with disgust, stating how unfortunate it was to be assigned such an incompetent teacher. Pops just got clocked. Insulted, Zarajusta called the prince rude, despite his royal status. He reminded him that he was currently just a student at the night school. He warned that defying a teacher could negatively impact his grades, yet Prince Mishwada remained firm. To him, there was nothing wrong with calling incompetence what it was. He believed that failing to recognize Idol's hidden talent was the clearest proof of Zarajusta's own lack of skill. Furious, Zarajusta cursed under his breath. In his eyes, Idol was nothing more than a loater student, unmotivated and holding the lowest grades. No one could compare the school's top talents to someone like Idol. Just then, Prince Mishwada revealed something unexpected. He had been watching Idol for a long time. He knew of the fame, the title, the 13th Golden Generation, and believed that Idol was the one who truly deserved to be its golden example. Though he had pretended to be a weak student, he possessed incredible talent. From the first to the third year, he was always second, right behind the prince himself. But from the fourth year onward, he had lost all motivation. The prince admitted he didn't know what caused the change, but he hoped to help Idol recover and become a splendid knight once more. When he asked Zarajusta if he had any idea why he wanted to help Idol, the old man was left speechless. Finally, Prince Mishwada revealed his reasons. He was the fourth prince of the country, and seeking out exceptional talent for the good of the nation was only natural. Prince Mishwada firmly believed that Idol was, without a doubt, the one who could become the strongest knight to support the country. And yet Zarajusta had tried to expel him. To the prince, the incompetent always stood in the way of others. Zarajusta was stunned, unable to respond. Eventually, he managed to speak, asking if perhaps the prince was overestimating Idol. He admitted he might not know Idol's past performance, but insisted that his current record was undeniably the worst. After all, everything came down to visible evaluations. The prince wasn't impressed with what he said. To him, being able to grasp what was unseen was a mark of true competence. He then asked Zarajusta if he even knew why Idol had been skipping class or where he went during that time. Confused, the teacher had no answer. That's when the prince revealed the truth. Idol had been involved with the Adventurers Guild. He was being evaluated as a B-rank adventurer unofficially. Zarajusta scoffed, thinking Idol was a fool for doing such a thing, but the achievements were real. For an investigator had confirmed it just the other day, Idol had reportedly succeeded in defeating a wyvern with his party. Zarajusta was in disbelief. He couldn't think of many in the capital's Knight Brigade who could pull that off. Just then, Prince Mishwada pointed out how much the old man talked despite knowing so little. Zarajusta stammered while the prince continued, saying that Idol's only flaw was that he had lost faith in himself. He had given up on the path of knighthood, but if Idol were truly a knight meant to serve the country, then the right to fail him belonged to the country itself, meaning that he, a member of the royal family, could pass that judgment. Idol had already petitioned the king to become Prince Mishwada's direct knight after graduation, regardless of grades. The prince had intended to train him personally. Zarajusta could hardly believe the king had agreed, but then the prince looked at him with fury in his eyes, declaring that the teacher's foolish actions had ruined everything. Now the prince declared that he would charge Zarajusta with treason for obstructing the will of the royal family. He told the man that his time as a teacher at the night school was over. Starting next month, Zarajusta would be nothing more than a commoner soldier stationed at a remote fortress. Desperate, Zarajusta collapsed to the floor. He begged, saying he had spent his entire life building his career, only to be reduced to guarding some remote land. Bro fumbled so bad he became an NPC. However, the prince simply smirked. He thought to himself that he had no intention of abandoning Idol. He would make sure that his strength served the nation. Idol continued his mission in the Idionir Great Tree Sea. During his time there, he deepened his bond with the slime, teaching it tricks. At first glance, it might have looked like they were just playing around, but this was also a way to strengthen their friendship level. He could eventually form a bond summon with the slime by doing so. Soon after, Idol used the bond summoning technique. Their bond had reached level 6, granting them the ability to summon water attributes. The summoning technique had advanced significantly too. Now he could summon water directly anytime and anywhere he needed it. He realized that he was in much better condition than he had ever imagined. From musty adventurer to minty fresh legend, he was getting used to life in the Great Tree Sea. Still, Idol admitted that the bond summoning technique had its limitations. However, due to the unique nature of the forest, the technique's level had increased. Not only that, the number of monsters he could contract with had also grown. He now had the ability to form new bonds with other creatures. Without hesitation, he attempted to create a new contract, but to his surprise, a system notification appeared reporting an error. Certain conditions hadn't been met. It seemed that monster contracts weren't just about casting the spell. The monsters also had to mentally accept him. Without that mutual recognition, no bond could be formed, no matter how much he desired it. He had initially tried to defeat the slime before bonding with it, assuming that was the standard method used by monster tamers. However, bond summoning was clearly an entirely different process. Idol played with the slime again, realizing just how lucky he was to have formed a bond with it. In that moment, he made a decision. Rather than overthinking things, he would take action and try different approaches. He held the slime to his face, telling it his plan. Then suddenly, the slime became alert. It stiffened, as if trying to warn him of incoming danger. Idol looked around, confused, and asked if there were enemies nearby. Scanning his surroundings, Idol was shocked to see a group of goblins lurking nearby. One goblin wouldn't have been a problem, but this was a group. He tried to sneak away quietly, but a misstep made just enough noise to draw their attention. They noticed him, making Idol freeze on the spot. It was always the same with these humanoid monsters. Goblins were wicked, vile, and arrogant. They didn't defend territory. They invaded human settlements, destroyed fields, and attacked livestock. Even worse, they sometimes targeted human children, abducting them for cruel entertainment before eventually killing them. Goblins were the type of monster that had to be eliminated on sight. Idol hadn't expected to find them living in the Idionir Great Tree Sea as well. If he had been noticed, he had no choice but to act. Idol unsheathed his sword, fully aware that goblins weren't particularly strong on their own. However, when gathered in a group, their coordination could be shockingly effective. Then, out of nowhere, Idol realized he had been completely surrounded. It was just him and the slime standing alone against the entire horde. A desperate crisis. The goblins bared their razor-sharp teeth and sinister grins, confident that they had cornered their prey. However, Idol had no intention of backing down. The goblins might have seen them as weak, but they were wrong. He turned to the slime, relying on their bond. In response, the slime leaped into the air, allowing Idol to perform the bond summoning technique. From it, they produced a strange liquid called lotion and dumped it all over the goblins. At first, the goblins were merely confused by the slippery substance, but they quickly realized it wasn't dangerous. However, just as they prepared to strike again, they lost their footing and slipped. That's when Idol understood that the liquid scattered earlier by the slime wasn't ordinary water. Thanks to the increased level of the technique, it was now possible to summon lotion from another world. Sticky and slick, it wasn't meant for drinking. Wait till he realizes what else it's good for. It clung to the skin, making it difficult to stand or move. It couldn't be wiped off with a simple gesture. Even though the goblins were smart enough to gather in groups, they lacked the caution to avoid such traps. Seeing his chance, Idol moved fast. He grabbed a sharp piece of wood and used it as a makeshift spear. Without hesitation, he struck, impaling goblins one after another until half the horde had been wiped out. One of the goblins appeared to beg for its life, letting out desperate, unintelligible sounds. But Idol only smirked, asking if it were asking to be spared. Then, without mercy, he told the goblin that its begging was pointless. He knew the iron rule when it came to goblins: if encountered, they must be eliminated without exception. Just then, the slime alerted him that danger was looming. Idol asked what was wrong, then to his shock, he noticed that a goblin was attacking from a blind spot. The goblin landed in front of him, distracting him while Idol was preoccupied. The rest of the horde quickly retreated. Strangely, the lone goblin showed no fear. It simply sat there as if waiting to be killed. Quickly, Idol noticed that the goblin's companions had abandoned it. Goblins were known for being wicked. They formed groups, but it was to gain the upper hand against their enemies and not out of camaraderie. To Idle's confusion, this goblin came to rescue its companions even when it was in a tight spot. That moment made Idle pause, realizing that maybe this goblin had the capacity to form bonds. He decided to use the bond summoning technique on it, and to his shock, the goblin began to speak. The goblin questioned why Idle didn't finish her off. Meanwhile, Idle could hardly believe what he was hearing. It had to be the effect of the technique. Suddenly, the goblin sensed something was wrong. She realized she could understand human speech and panicked, confused about what was happening to her. The goblin wondered if this was some kind of domination magic. She lamented that a proud goblin like her had fallen so far, reduced to being a mere familiar. Idle, meanwhile, questioned if goblins even had pride. The goblin was deeply offended and insisted they did. Then Idle tried another summon. Now that he had a bond with the goblin, this time he was able to obtain a combat knife. Upon confirming the summon, the knife appeared, simple in design. The goblin was mesmerized by the glint of its silver blade. She marveled at how beautiful it looked, even reflecting his image. Testing it on a tree branch, she was stunned by how sharp it was. Raising the knife, she imagined how satisfying it would be to see a deep, gushing wound. The slime watched the goblin with concern while Idle began to think it was probably a bad idea to let an idiot wield such a weapon. Without hesitation, he took the knife back. The goblin threw a tantrum, but Idle calmly stated he would return it only when necessary. That alone was enough to excite the goblin. She eagerly called him boss and asked if he truly meant it. Overjoyed, she even vowed to annihilate all humans and monsters alike. Idle gave a small smile, realizing just how overly confident this creature really was. As the days went on, Idle eventually allowed the goblin to use the knife as they continued leveling up. They sat down to share a meal together. However, the goblin began recounting disturbing details from their recent battles. She spoke with great enthusiasm about the sharpness of their weapons, describing in vivid detail how enemy arteries had ruptured and blood had spurted everywhere. Annoyed by the graphic nature of her report, Idle cut her off, saying he had heard quite enough. With their growing numbers, the battle in the Idenir Great Tree Sea had made significant progress. Their strategy was well coordinated, with Idle and the slime clearing out blind spots while the goblin exploited openings like a skilled assassin. Their levels continued to rise steadily, and Idle began to feel ready to bond with a new beast. Just then, the goblin claimed she had an excellent idea. She pointed ahead to a hill-like area that was currently claimed by a powerful monster. Her suggestion was to defeat this monster and make it one of Idle's underlings. When Idle asked if the opponent was truly strong, the goblin reassured him that they could definitely take it down together. Idle hesitated, unsure if her intelligence was trustworthy. Eventually, he decided to check it out, but they would only fight if they had a good chance of winning. Later that day, they reached their destination. Upon arrival, Idle was absolutely stunned to discover that the enemy the goblin had mentioned was a gigantic golem. He immediately recognized the immense danger they were facing. Golems were far more threatening than the wyvern he had defeated before. Its body was as hard as minerals, human-shaped, massive, and surprisingly agile. It was already a formidable opponent, and far more intelligent than a mere beast. Panic immediately set in. They turned and ran as Idle cursed the goblin for leading them into such a dire situation. The goblin, flustered, claimed she genuinely thought they could handle it. Idle knew there was absolutely no way they could defeat that thing, let alone make it an ally. He immediately ordered a retreat so they could regroup and devise a new plan. The goblin tried to keep up, saying she understood the gravity of their situation. They managed to put some distance between themselves and the golem. Then, to Idle's surprise, the golem stopped moving. He began to wonder if it would stop chasing them if they simply left the hill. That hope quickly vanished as the golem grabbed a massive tree trunk and prepared to launch it straight at them. They were absolutely done for. The golem hurled the massive tree trunk toward them, making them scream in panic. Fortunately, they managed to dodge just in time. Idle quickly checked to see if everyone was okay, and the goblin confirmed she was fine. To their horror, they suddenly noticed that the slime wasn't with them. It had been left behind, dangerously close to the golem itself. The slime was completely exhausted and could no longer move. If Idol and the goblin didn't act fast, the golem would crush the slime underfoot. Without hesitation, Idol rushed back toward the slime. The goblin warned him that he might get crushed too, but Idol didn't back down. He argued that he had spent so much time with the slime that abandoning it was never an option. He questioned what kind of future awaited someone who would leave a friend behind just to survive. And so Idol ran with everything he had, reaching out desperately. At the last possible moment, he managed to grab the slime and pull it out of harm's way. However, the danger was far from over. The golem still loomed above them, ready to strike. At that moment, Idol realized there was no longer any escape route. With only a 50-50th chance of success, he decided to take the risk and used his bond summoning technique on the golem. To his complete surprise, the golem suddenly stopped moving. Idol took the opportunity to flee while he still could, but something stopped him mid-track. Something strange was happening. The golem began to emit a glowing light, and from within it, a girl appeared. The girl thanked Idol for registering her, then introduced herself as V4T1CX2, a fully situational response type automation model. She stated that serving her master was the greatest joy of an automation, and she hoped Idol would take good care of her. Idol was stunned, wondering if the girl was actually the core of the golem. However, the girl clarified that the golem belonged to her. She referred to it as a combat enhancement armor model type giant. Her explanation only left Idol more confused, unable to grasp half of what she was saying. She continued, mentioning that the golem had already operated for over 18,016 continuous hours. Still baffled, Idol turned to his party to ask if anyone else understood what she was talking about. The girl then said that due to aging and deterioration, the golem's performance had dropped to less than half of its original capacity. In that state, it would be difficult to properly serve her master. While he didn't fully understand everything, Idol did notice that the golem's outer body looked quite old and creaky. Just then, Idol opened his screen, which caught the girl's attention. She asked what it was, and Idol replied that he was thinking of using the bond they had just formed. To his surprise, the screen showed several summonable items now available. Among them were the Enhanced Armor type, the Giant Enhanced Armor type, and the Eagle Enhanced Armor type. The Enhanced Armor type giant caught his attention. He selected it, and the armor automatically applied itself to the golem, renewing its appearance and restoring it to a brand new state. The girl was amazed by her master's decision, marveling that they could now bring out the golem's maximum specifications. Idol, now a bit more composed, admitted that he had a few questions to clear up. He wondered aloud if the girl was around 20 years old, observing the features of her body. The boy clearly knew his priorities. Before she could respond, he looked away, distracted and confused about who she really was. More specifically, he wondered why she had been inside the golem. The girl asked why he turned away, but Idol didn't answer. He knew it wouldn't be appropriate to admit that her outfit was quite revealing. She then explained that she was an automation designed to mimic the female human body. About 2,000 years ago, this land was home to a vast ancient civilization, and she was a robot created by that civilization. She was essentially a doll that could think and act on her own. Her mission had been to guard an important facility on this hill. Even after the civilization fell and the facility was reclaimed by the Earth, she continued to protect the land. But now she had found a new reason to exist. She would dedicate all her functions to serving Idol. Startled by how close she suddenly was, Idol could only hope that she'd take good care of him too. At that moment, he realized that when he had extended his hand to form the contract, perhaps he had felt her desire to serve. Just then, the girl turned serious and made a request. She wanted a name. Idol was surprised, and the girl explained that her model number was only her machine's designation. What she desired was a personal name, one she could carry as the automation who served her master. Idol tried to come up with a good name. Since the girl was technically a golem, he wanted to use that as the base but with a cuter twist. Eventually, he decided on the name Goleen. Goleen smiled and gratefully accepted it, saying it was a wonderful name. Suddenly, the goblin got angry, reminding Goleen that she was her senior. She furiously demanded to know why Idol was only naming newcomers, claiming it was unfair favoritism. Even the slime seemed to agree, muttering strange sounds only it could understand. Idol was unimpressed by their reaction, but he admitted they were just as unique and irreplaceable as Golin. So he decided to give them names as well, saying it wasn't too late. The goblin and the slime were visibly excited. Idol turned to the slime first and named it Slappy, inspired by the peculiar noises it made. Slappy's eyes sparkled as it uttered unintelligible sounds, clearly thrilled. Idol was glad the name made it happy. Next, he turned to the goblin and named her Goblin. Though Goblin was surprised that Idol had chosen a name so quickly, she thought it was perfect. To her, the lack of hesitation meant the name was truly fitting. And so it was done. The slime was named Slappy, the goblin was Goblin, and the golem was Golin. It had taken him months to brainstorm those names. With the addition of these three companions, Idol's progress in mastering the bond summoning technique rapidly advanced. Then came a surprise. The screen informed him that the rank of his bond summoning technique had been upgraded. He was confused about why the rank increased but not the level. Golin speculated that it was due to the act of naming them. Idol's technique depended on the strength of the bond with the contractor, which was a rare method. The stronger the bond, the more power it could exert in the world. Idol was shocked as he realized that naming them had deepened their bond. At that moment, the screen announced that composite bond summoning was now possible. Idol tested it immediately, and the resulting summon was a chainsaw. Golin explained that it was a tool used for cutting trees. When activated, the chain would rotate its blade. Before Idol tried it out, Golin advised him to insert it slowly. That's what she said? Idol wasted no time and turned on the chainsaw, using it to cut down a tree successfully. Goblin was amazed and eagerly asked if she could try as well. Idol agreed but warned her to be careful. Filled with excitement, Goblin began chopping trees at full speed. Idol, watching this unfold, questioned what the goblin's goal even was. At that moment, Golin suggested they build a house, and Idol fully supported the idea. Using the wood Goblin had chopped, he built a log house in no time. When it was finished, Goblin jumped for joy and said it was fun seeing it all come together. Idol felt a sense of accomplishment. Settling down in the forest would allow him to deepen his bond summoning technique even further. Golin praised Idol, saying he was perfect in combat, magic, and knowledge. However, Idol remained humble, mentioning that he had already built a log house during a previous quest. Even so, he was exhausted. To recover, he instructed Slappy to perform a bond summon for water. Cold water suddenly sprinkled all over Idol's body, instantly refreshing him. Then he noticed Golin giving him a strange look. She questioned his actions, and Idol explained that he was sweating, so he decided to take a water bath. He quickly apologized, realizing he had undressed in front of a woman. Golin didn't just have an issue with that, she had concerns about his entire approach. Idol admitted she had a point. He figured if he had kept his clothes on, it could have counted as doing laundry, like hitting two birds with one stone. Golin made it clear that this wasn't the case at all. She confronted him politely, and explained that his approach was not about cultural cleanliness. Cleanliness wasn't just about the person, it was about the surroundings too. Idol didn't quite get it at first, but Golin insisted they needed to build a proper bath. He argued that it would be too much work. They'd need to boil water every time and gather firewood. But Golin calmly reassured him that she already had a plan. Soon after, Golin began constructing the bath. First, she dug a wide, deep hole in the ground. With her golem armor on, the excavation was completed in no time. Idol asked if it was meant to hold water, worried it would just seep into the ground. However, Golin told him not to worry. She then called Goblin and instructed her to take some stones and pack them all over the hole like a cover. After that, she had Slappy pour a thick, drippy substance over the stones. This substance was cement. Once it hardened, it would be as tough as rock, durable even if it were hit. This was a result of her and Slappy's combined bond summoning ability. Just then, she had Slappy repeat the process for the other side of the hole. Idol was impressed but slightly uneasy at the idea that they might have tested their combined summon on him without his consent. Once everything was in place, they had to wait for the cement to dry, a process that took a long time. Eventually, when the cement had set, Slappy filled the bath with water. Idol wanted it to be hot, so Golin used a mana-based heat source to warm it up. As steam rose from the water, Idol was speechless. Golin happily gestured for him to enter, unaware that the water was literally boiling. After a while, Idol settled into the bath. He noted that Golin seemed to have some inconsistencies in her awareness. It took time to adjust the temperature, but eventually the water was just right. The view from the bath was peaceful, surrounded by greenery, and being outdoors made it feel even better. Then, to his shock, a voice commented on how honored they were that the bath met his standards. It was Golin, now soaking in the bath with him, completely naked. It was about to get steamy, folks. Pun intended. Golin called upon Idol, stating that a private bath might be lonely, so she had come to join him. She believed it was an automation's duty to attend to their master. Meanwhile, Idol panicked upon realizing she had no clothes on. Golin explained that she had removed them, as bathing while dressed would violate common sense. Idol was stunned by her logic, thinking this was exactly the kind of situation that required common sense. He questioned whether automations could even remove their clothes. Golin clarified that she was an all-situations response automation designed to perform a wide range of duties. Idol was confused by what she meant by duty, and most of all, what taking off her clothes and being naked had to do with anything. Golin went on to explain that female-type automations were equipped with functions meant to satisfy pleasure-based desires. For that reason, their structure was modeled after an adult human female, accurate down to the smallest detail. Idol completely freaked out. To make things worse, Golin stood up in the bath, fully exposing herself. She invited Idol to see those details for himself. She hit him with the open house special. Horrified, he pushed her back into the water, insisting that he already believed her. There was no reason to doubt her explanation. Golin was touched by his reaction, expressing genuine happiness that her master trusted her so much. After 2,000 years, she never imagined meeting someone so kind. Meanwhile, Idol couldn't understand why his response had moved her so deeply. Just then, Golin leaned in closer, gently reminding him that her service functions were available at any time. As Idol questioned his own rationality, Goblin and Slappy suddenly appeared, asking what he was doing. Idol tried to explain himself but only stuttered, which made him look even more suspicious. Meanwhile, a pack of wolves gathered near the house, watching Idol and the others from a distance. One of the wolves reported that the giant on the hill had vanished. Now was the time to take what they sought. That superior land was truly worthy of being under their control. Another wolf mentioned that during reconnaissance, someone had already infiltrated the hill. A third added that Idol and his companions were showing signs of building homes and settling in. The pack leader grew furious, insisting that it didn't matter if there were inhabitants. They would simply be driven out. The weak would be eliminated. That was the law of the Great Tree. Back in the bath, Idol desperately tried to explain that everything was a misunderstanding. He claimed Golin had just shown up and was troubled. Goblin and Slappy didn't look convinced, and Goblin pointed out that he had even been grinning earlier. As they argued, Golin suddenly stood up, her demeanor turning serious. She warned Idol to be on guard, as something was heading their way. She had detected multiple hostile signatures and insisted that they prepare for a counterattack. Idol was startled by the news, while Goblin seemed excited because it had been a while since she'd fought. The group quickly dressed and got ready. Moments later, a pack of large, sturdy wolves appeared. Their leader stepped forward, declaring that the giants had finally disappeared. She introduced herself as Ushiva, pack leader of the Jail Wolf tribe. Idol was surprised that the wolves could speak the human language, which only meant they were an intelligent species. He then asked what had brought them there, and more importantly, why they came in such numbers. With a smirk, he remarked that there was no food around, or perhaps they saw him as the food. Ushiva dismissed the idea of eating a human, stating they didn't come for Idol but for the hill. This land had long been desired by many races. Since ancient times, the giants had claimed it and never left, making it unreachable. But now that the giants were gone, it was only natural to take the land if no one owned it. She really went with finders keepers. Urshiva claimed that the Jailwolf tribe had been the first to detect the giant's disappearance, and the qualifications for a new ruler were in place. Just then, Golin quickly stepped forward, stating that the rightful owner of the land had already been decided. It was none other than her master. She declared that a mere canine daring to intrude on her master's domain was outrageous. With a stern warning, she told Urshiva to leave immediately, and that she would not repeat herself. However, Urshiva remained defiant, saying that a weak human claiming territory was laughable. If that were the case, she would crush their heads and take their lives along with the land. Hearing this, Golin turned to Idol, asking for permission to fight. Idol gave the signal, and he equipped the golem with the enhanced armor-type giant. Golin warned the wolves that dying in arrogance was foolish. Even a coward who lived would be wiser. Now she would make them understand. The golem appeared in its full glory, shocking Urshiva. Without delay, Golin unleashed her power, striking down the wolves in one swift move. She then grabbed Urshiva and handed her over to Idol, stating that judgment should come from her master. Just then, Urshiva fearlessly demanded to be killed. Proud wolves never lived to suffer shame after defeat in battle. They were meant to fall gloriously and leave behind the pride of the wolf for future generations. Meanwhile, Idol found this to be impossible. The other wolves were covered in wounds, yet not a single one attempted to run away. It was a troublesome situation because, unlike usual, his opponent was a sentient being. Just then, an idea struck him. Idol suggested forming a contract with Urshiva. If he turned her into a bond-summoned beast, she could become his companion. It was a way to ensure safety without killing the enemy. Golin immediately interrupted, questioning whether it was really so easy to grant someone the honor of following her master. Urshiva, on the other hand, was confused by whatever Golin was talking about. Idol clarified that he would become Urshiva's new master. The idea baffled her, thinking that a weak-looking human couldn't possibly be under the command of a giant. However, Idol told her that there was no need to put it that way. Just then, he simply proceeded to form the bond. In an instant, Urshiva transformed. Her body shifted into a demi-human form, stunning Idol and the others who witnessed it. A wolf had just literally turned into a beautiful human. Idol asked why Urshiva had taken on a human form. She replied that in order to serve her master more deeply, she had adopted a similar appearance. Idol had never heard of such a thing. With Golin residing inside the golem, he was able to accept her, but he couldn't understand why the proud wolf had transformed into a beautiful girl. Urshiva smiled, declaring that she represented the Urshiva wolf tribe and would now serve him wholeheartedly. She began fangirling over Idol, admiring him as a mighty warrior who had defeated and subjugated giants. By joining under his protection, her clan would surely be safe. Idol tried to clarify that he hadn't actually defeated the giant, but Urshiva seemed too lost in admiration to listen. And just like that, a new companion had joined Idol's team. The next day, Idol was petting one of the wolves, rubbing its belly. The wolf was so pleased it looked like it wanted to be petted forever. Suddenly, Urshiva loomed over, demanding that her belly be petted too, just like her subordinates. Idol was completely caught off guard and insisted that touching her in that form was forbidden. Just then, Golin interrupted, warning that their master was in trouble. She complained that the beasts were absolutely relentless, and now they even seemed to be staying for good. As Urshiva cozied up to Idol, he agreed that Golin had a point. In fact, the beasts were increasing in number all at once. At that moment, Idol noticed Slappy playing with the wolves, using water to entertain them. It warmed his heart to see the slime getting along so well with them. Urshiva was impressed by the slime's ability to produce water under Idol's command. She became even more convinced that Idol was the one worthy of becoming the ruler of the forest. To her, the wolves who pledged loyalty to a noble were the true victors. Golin, on the other hand, questioned what nonsense the newcomer was rambling about. Idol was equally confused. He didn't understand why Urshiva kept calling him a king. He began to wonder if territorial disputes in the Great Tree were really that intense. Hearing this, Urshiva stood up and began to explain. The great forest was home to some truly powerful foes. There were the great sea tribes, orcs, and goblins. The vermin hordes were among the lesser tribes. Of course, there was the jail wolf tribe. Among them all, the demon beast tribe stood as the main forces. Suddenly, Urshiva turned serious, suspecting that the other tribes might already have their eyes on this territory. And so she warned Idol to remain vigilant. Meanwhile, Goblin was fuming at Urshiva. She felt that this newcomer was acting all high and mighty. If her goal was to make the master stronger, then they should form contracts with all the wolves. However, Urshiva protested, explaining that this wasn't allowed. Only the leader of the group had the privilege of forming a direct bond with the Lord, and she couldn't allow her subordinates to do what Goblin suggested. Goblin suddenly smirked, pointing out that she also had a contract with Idol, which made them equals. Urshiva was baffled that a goblin like her would think that way. Idol then stepped in, saying that having more contracts didn't necessarily mean someone was stronger. Goblin interrupted, saying that there was something more important she wanted to test. She wanted to know what could be summoned through Idol's bond with the dog. She claimed no one could summon anything as useful as she could. Urshiva's blood boiled at that statement, demanding she explain what she meant. Idol chuckled nervously, unsure how to calm the two down. To break the tension, he suddenly used bond summoning, instantly silencing them both. To everyone's surprise, he had summoned dog food. Idol stared at the brown orbs in confusion, not understanding what they were. Urshiva and Goblin were even more puzzled, asking what the item was. Without hesitation, Urshiva and the wolves dove in, devouring the dog food. Idol was stunned that they were actually eating it. He hadn't even realized it was food. Curious, he considered trying it himself, but Golin quickly warned him that doing so would compromise his dignity. Urshiva turned to him, praising the dog food. Not just the land and water, she said, but even the way he provided so much delicious food. She claimed the Jailwolf tribe would gladly fight to the death for him. Idol smiled, thinking that from their perspective, this was paradise. And if that was the case, other magical beasts might be drawn to him as well. Just then, a fierce tiger approached the group with its companions. It introduced itself as part of the fierce tiger tribe. The leader stepped forward and gave her name as Nyafu. She announced that cats loved high and warm places and demanded that Idol hand over the land. However, Idol didn't hesitate. He signaled Golin, and Golin swiftly activated her powers, obliterating the tiger tribe on the spot. Meanwhile, at the Jeraha family estate, Idol's father declared that they were the source of a capable bloodline. He had heard of the many accomplishments of his sons, and because of that, he believed the future of the royal capital's knights would likely be led by the two brothers. That said, he had a request. However, before he proceeded, he noticed that the brothers were unamused and asked what was wrong. Exer spoke up, saying he had a question. He wanted to know if their father truly disowned Idol. Without hesitation, their father confirmed it, saying it was too late to tell them right when it happened. Idol, he claimed, was a burden to the Jeraha family, and so he severed ties with him for good. On the bright side, the rest of the family was still together. Smiling, he invited the brothers to join him for dinner. However, Exer was furious. He cursed at the old man, telling him not to mess with him. Their father was stunned, clearly not expecting that kind of reaction. Zara couldn't believe he had disowned his own son. Their father tried to justify that compared to Zara and Exer, Idol was nothing. Thanks to the brothers' achievements, he had gained status and popularity in social circles. Idol, despite being his child, was just a useless ingrate. Exer snapped, calling him a pig-headed fool. He claimed that Idol would eventually surpass him, even if it took time. Their father demanded to know how he could speak to his own father like that, but Exer didn't back down. He asked if their father even knew what class Idol belonged to. Then he answered himself. It was the golden 13th generation. Surrounded by powerful classmates, and being expected to always be first was harsh for Idol. Zara chimed in, adding that Exer's top rank only made their pig of a father more arrogant. Zara continued, saying he couldn't read his father's mind. When compared to someone as exceptional as Zara, Even if Idol's results surpassed his best efforts, like his elder brother, he was expected to always be number one. That must have made things unbearable for someone like Idol. He was shunned from a young age, beaten, and always publicly humiliated by constant comparisons to his brothers. But despite that, Idol never gave up. Exer admitted he regretted not recognizing that effort sooner. He smirked bitterly at their father, asking if he truly thought he was just a clueless child. Then Exer revealed something. At a recent gathering, he met a gentleman around his father's age. That man told him about his father's student days, how he barely ranked in the top 40. That's why he could so easily demand excellence now. He never knew what it was like to be crushed by expectations. That's got to burn. Exer then made his decision. If Idol was disowned, then he too would sever ties with their father. All he wanted was to be free from the pressure. Their father couldn't believe what he was hearing, so he reminded Exer that he was his proud son. Just then, Exer turned to Zara and asked if he had any objections. Zara, however, was indifferent. He had only come because he thought their mother had summoned him. He didn't expect a confrontation. To him, matters like these were trivial and unrelated to his mission. Then, without a word, he left the room. Their father called after him, but Zara didn't look back. Meanwhile, Exer remained lost in thought, wondering where Idol was. Wherever he was, he wouldn't let him stay alone. Meanwhile, in the Idonir Great Tree Sea, Idol noticed that various races were preparing to claim the land for themselves. To prevent conflict, he needed to form contracts with them, just like he did with the Jailwolf tribe. At the same time, the wolves and tigers had started bickering. Urshiva insisted that the Jailwolf tribe had pledged loyalty to Idol, but Nyafu, now in her demi-human form, argued that usefulness was more important. She claimed that the tiger tribe was far superior to any dog-like race. Observing the two, Idol realized that discord had already begun to take root. Fortunately, he had a way to deal with it. He called Nyafu forward and summoned a treat through their bond. Liquid snacks for cats. Nyafu eagerly opened her mouth to receive her reward. Overwhelmed by how delicious it was, she was completely won over. This would go south if we weren't seeing pictures. Urshiva scoffed, finding it pathetic that someone could be swayed by food. It seemed cats like her lacked even a shred of pride, but then Idol turned to Urshiva with a smile. He had something for her as well. Liquid snacks for dogs. He handed it to her, but Urshiva hesitated, worried that eating it would make her look like a cat. Still, Idol calmed everyone down, urging them not to fight. Just then, Golin stepped in, reminding Idol to stop wasting time playing with beasts and focus on their next course of action. Idol informed the girls that he would be returning to town, leaving them all shocked and pleading for him to stay. They wanted to be together forever. Frustrated, Idol insisted that he would return once everything was sorted. Urshiva offered to go with him, promising to protect him from any danger. Just then, Idol explained that the bond summoning technique had been tested to some extent. There were 5 summoning beasts, and if they continued their research, there were still many things they lacked to live there comfortably. Thanks to Urshiva and Nyafu, their combat strength would increase. However, the things they could summon through the contract were nothing more than toys. The log house was an improvement over the wilderness, but for long-term living, they would need furniture. That's why Idol was counting on the girls to watch over the place while he was gone. Hearing this made the girls panic, but they had no choice. In the end, Urshiva agreed to take care of the place while Idol was away. She then proposed that someone should take charge in his absence, to which Idol agreed. Urshiva insisted that she should be the one to take on that leadership role. Nyafu, not to be left out, chimed in saying that she too wanted to volunteer. As the leader of the royal tiger tribe, she claimed she was the most suitable. Urshiva was furious, reminding Nyafu that as a feline creature, she would prioritize herself over the group. She argued that wolves, in contrast, unite to hunt and survive, maintaining strict rules and a clear hierarchy to lead the pack. Nyafu dismissed Urshiva's remarks, calling her annoying, and insisted that she would lead the group in a more relaxed and laid-back manner. Idol grew even more concerned, knowing that he needed to choose a new leader while he was away. However, choosing between them seemed like a bad idea. After some thought, he declared that the one he trusted most among his band was Slappy. The slime would be their new leader, leaving the girls baffled. He literally gave the promotion to a sentient jello cup. Urshiva reluctantly yielded, saying she had no choice if Slappy was the chosen leader. Nyafu also agreed, stating that Slappy was the most suitable. Meanwhile, Slappy made unintelligible noises as if asking them to take good care of him. Idol felt relieved as the matter had been quickly settled. Golin congratulates Slappy, saying everything will be fine now that he's in charge. Slappy blinks in confusion, surprised by how much trust she places in him. Urshiva teases Golin, calling her unexpectedly mature, while Nyafu accuses her of lacking ambition for not joining the leadership contest. But Golin simply says she's not fit to be a substitute leader. Urshiva questions if she's being too humble, warning that such thinking might make it hard to stand beside their master. Golin just smiles and says she's fine with that. Idol agrees, then summons the external equipment type Eagle. In an instant, a sleek aircraft descends in front of them. Among all the reinforced gear Golin can access, this one is tailored for ground support and rapid aerial movement. With it, a journey that would take days on foot could be finished in a single day. Urshiva immediately steps forward, calling it an iron bird and claiming she'll be the one to pilot it. But Golin calmly explains that only she can control the craft. Its system and power core are synced with her directly. Idol agrees, adding that since Golin has a human form, she's the best choice to travel with him. The others would stay behind and follow Slappy's lead. Urshiva's frustration boils over. She can't lead. She can't go. She's stuck. Nyafu sighs and gives up, saying they'll just have to earn everyone's trust the hard way. With that, Idol informs them he'll be leaving and should return by nightfall. Just then, Golin instructs him to wrap himself around her. He freezes, confused, but she clarifies that unless he holds on properly, she won't be able to carry him safely. Panicked, Idol tries to negotiate, asking if he can just grab her back or her legs instead. Golin points out that grabbing her back or legs would be risky. She plans to fly at full speed, so for safety, he needs to be securely attached. The most stable option is for him to sit in the cockpit area, with her. Idol protests, saying it's too narrow. If even one person barely fits, squeezing in another would make it unbearably cramped. But Golin insists the aircraft was designed that way, and there's no changing it. 2 people can fit. Barely. Before Idol can argue again, Golin grabs him and pulls him inside. The cockpit seals shut, and just like that, the aircraft lifts off the ground. Idol blinks, suddenly realizing he's lying face first against Golin's soft chest as they rocket into the sky. As the wind rushes past them, he wonders if this is really how they're going to travel, but Golin calmly informs him that they've already departed. Down below, Nyafu notices the empty space beside her. Urshiva is missing. For a second she's concerned, but then shrugs it off. She figures they'll be fine. Though in Idol's case, fine might be an understatement. Eventually, they reach their destination. Idol stumbles out of the aircraft, dizzy and flushed, convinced he almost died. But he has to admit, the ride was dangerously soft and smelled amazing. Golin announces their arrival and asks if he enjoyed the flight. Idol says he did, down to the marrow of his bones. They park the aircraft outside the village to avoid panic. Golin's outfit is too revealing, and they don't want to cause a scene. That's also why Idol suggests she wear a mantle, something more fitting for public eyes. Clothing reflects social norms, and Golin's appearance might attract too much attention. For now, the mantle will do. They can shop for proper clothes later. Golin is surprised. The mantle is one of Idol's personal items. He tries to brush off the gesture, saying he just wanted to see how it looks on her. As he drapes it over her shoulders, Golin thanks him and promises to find the cutest clothes for him in return. Idol stands there, baffled. That's not what he meant. Soon after, they enter the village. Golin observes the surroundings and notes how primitive the place looks. It's clear this civilization lags far behind the one that created her. Trying to change the topic, she suggests they shop for clothes together. She thinks he might enjoy that. Idol agrees but reminds her they also need furniture. The only problem, he's broke. Golin asks if he was once a financier, reasoning that even if he defaulted, no debt collector would dare chase him into the depths of the great tree sea. Idol stares at her, completely thrown off, and shuts that idea down immediately. After that, they head straight to the Adventurers Guild. As they arrive, Idol asks Golin to buy some materials while he handles other matters. The moment they step inside, the old man who once looked after Idol at the capital branch spots them and calls out his name. Idol freezes. He hadn't expected to see this man here. He thought the old man was still working in the royal capital, but the man begins yelling across the hall, explaining he transferred to this branch out of sheer concern. It's been 4 months since Idol vanished. Idol is stunned. It had only felt like weeks to him. The old man says his disappearance was classified as a disaster, and a search quest had even been posted on the guild board. Idol checks the board himself, and sure enough, there it is, a quest offering 4,000 G to anyone who could find him. He's even more shocked when he realizes the quest was issued by the Jiraha family. But the old man clarifies, this has nothing to do with the family. The quest went up 3 months ago, and not a single clue ever came in. Most assumed he was already dead. Touched that someone still cared, Idol tries to ease the man's worries. Golin, meanwhile, casually asks if she can take the quest and claim the reward immediately. Idol shoots her down, saying it wouldn't be fair. He asks the old man to cancel the quest instead. The old man blinks in confusion. There aren't exactly any goods worth trading for in this remote area. Idol smirks and proves him wrong by summoning a large box from thin air. The old man is shocked. From inside, Idol pulls out a kill club, a massive weapon made from a security-type monster with a shell so tough, most novice adventurers couldn't even scratch it. These are prized crafting materials. And Idol casually reveals he has 57 of them. In addition, he's got 107 armor fish and several chunks of processed adamantite ore. The old man is completely overwhelmed. Materials like these coming from the Great Tree Sea are unheard of. He then hesitantly asks if Idol had ventured deeper than what guild regulations allow. Idol's expression turns cautious. He asks if there's a penalty for that. The old man says no, but reaching those unexplored zones usually means death. Survivors are often swarmed with questions. Idol shrugs and says to keep quiet about it. The old man sighs. Idol hasn't changed at all. He marvels at the quality of the materials and finally asks how all of it fits into one small box. Idol explains that it's a storage item that distorts space. Even more curious, the old man asks if Idol is truly summoning things that don't exist in this world. Idol confirms it. The Great Tree Sea is the perfect environment for his research into bond summoning. The old man looks relieved. Idol has finally found something he wants to pursue for himself. He tells him to keep going, nothing's holding him back anymore. With that, he begins the appraisal and promises to offer the highest price possible to celebrate their reunion. Idol decides to kill time at a nearby clothing store. He tells Golin to pick whatever she wants, money's no issue. She immediately picks out a revealing dress, saying it's for him. Idol stares in disbelief. She moves on to lingerie, and now he's mortified. Eventually, she settles on a maid outfit. Idol asks why, and she replies that it's standard servant attire. He finally gives in. It's modest enough, at least. He tells her to set it aside for later. When they return to the guild, something unexpected happens. The old man greets them with a deep bow and apologizes. He says the guild can no longer accept Idol's summoned materials. Confused, Idol asks why. The old man explains that in the middle of the appraisal, guild staff noticed the materials weren't matching the known ecosystem of the Great Tree Sea. There's no record of these items ever being retrieved from that area. That alone raised suspicion. It didn't help that the sheer quantity was unnatural, and to make things worse, the matter has already been escalated to the branch manager. Idol's eyes narrow. This is no longer just an issue with one old man behind the counter. The entire guild is now watching. The guild refuses to process the materials unless they meet the person who brought them in. The old man panics, unsure of what to do. Idol thinks about returning to the forest, but that would mean abandoning the plan to buy furniture and clothes. In the end, He agrees to meet the guild manager, but only if they guarantee the materials will be processed after the meeting. They're led to Ogians, the branch manager of the Adventurers Guild in Batries. Ogians explains that more than 90% of the Great Tree Sea remains unexplored. Adventurers risk their lives to chart it, and this guild is responsible for keeping records of everything discovered near the frontier. But the items Idle brought in don't match anything currently listed. The Kill Club doesn't appear in any record of monsters found in the forest. Its hard shell belongs to the level of B-rank quests, and even then, only rarely. The other materials, adamantite ore and airy glass, are both top grade, previously unconfirmed in this region. Ogians asks if Idle really collected all of them from within the Great Tree Sea. If that's true, the guild's entire registry will need to be revised. But then Ogians admits something else. He believes Idle is lying. That explanation sounds more likely to him. Goleen stands immediately. She declares that her master would never lie and accuses Ogians of being unable to recognize true ability. She insists the materials all came from the forest. Idle steps in and tells her to calm down. Ogians apologizes and explains that doubt is natural when the results go this far beyond standard reports. Once again, he asks how far Idle went into the forest. Idle wants to know if there's going to be punishment for that. Ogians tells him no. Every adventurer decides how deep to go. However, returning alive from an unexplored zone isn't something the guild can ignore. That's the reason he was summoned. Ogians needs confirmation. If Idle came back alive from one of the deepest parts of the forest, then his abilities exceed all expectations. By that measure, he should be at least A rank. Possibly even S rank. But the guild's database still lists him as E rank. That mismatch doesn't make sense. The old man steps forward, offering to explain. Idle had been a student at the Royal Knight School. Having a student working part-time as an adventurer would have damaged the school's image. To avoid complications, Idle stayed at E rank on purpose. Ogians understands, but points out the obvious. Idle has been gone for months. That means he abandoned his studies. The old man is caught off guard. Suddenly, Idle speaks up. He admits that he was expelled. The school said he lacked talent and motivation. Ogians is stunned. Someone capable of surviving the most dangerous part of the Great Tree Sea had been rejected for not meeting basic standards. Idle isn't affected by it. Since he was expelled, there was nothing tying him down. That's why he entered the forest. He made the choice to live on his own terms. At that moment, Ogians makes his stance clear. Someone with Idle's ability can't be left at E rank to do as he pleases. He must take the promotion exam immediately. Ogians wants his rank to match his true capabilities. Idle is caught off guard. He only came to exchange materials, not sign up for a test. But Ogians reassures him that it's nothing grand. The exam will finish within the day. They'll factor in his past achievements as well. Idle isn't thrilled. He doesn't want attention. Rising to a high rank feels like asking for trouble. But then Goleen encourages him. He doesn't understand why she's pushing it so hard, but she explains that recognition is a good thing. His strength should be acknowledged, and respect will follow. The old man suddenly gets emotional. He says Idle had always been like a wallflower, and now people would finally see him for who he is. Tears fill his eyes, but Idle still doesn't get why he's crying. Idle asks if there's any other way, but Ogians doesn't budge. If he refuses the exam, the guild will assume he has no intention of working as a proper adventurer. In that case, they'll return the materials and end the deal entirely. Left with no other choice, Idle agrees. It's better to just get it over with. Goleen checks again if he's serious about taking the exam. If so, she says climbing ranks will be easy. The old man adds that even if Idle isn't eager, a higher rank comes with benefits. Idle looks confused. The old man explains. A high rank means access to solo quests, the right to lead a clan, and most importantly, advance funding. If Idle takes high difficulty quests, the guild will supply money up front to support the mission. That part catches Idle's attention. The idea of earning serious cash finally sparks some motivation. Later, Idol arrives at the examination grounds with the other candidates. Ojian steps forward and explains the rules. They'll begin mock battles, one-on-one matchups. As an E-class adventurer, Idol is matched against someone from D-class, one rank above. But Ojian's adds something more. He's hoping Idol reaches at least B-class. Then, glancing his way, he reveals that an A-class opponent has been brought in just for him. Idol tenses up. He doesn't do well with this kind of pressure. The money sounds good, but drawing too much attention could ruin the quiet life he built. He needs to aim for the right rank and make sure he doesn't lose. Just then, Golin speaks up, saying she'll do her best to support her master. She wants to help in the fight, explaining that as a combat asset created by Idol's own technique, her role is to protect him. But Idol turns her down. If people saw the golem, it would cause a stir. He wants to keep bond summoning hidden for now, and more importantly, he wants to keep Golin's true identity under wraps. With that, Ojian announces the start of the test. One of the adventurers steps forward, facing Idol. He's heard the rumors that Idol came from unexplored territory. The adventurer steps forward, expecting someone strong-looking. But when he sees Idol's size, he's caught off guard. Idol gives an awkward smile. People must have spread his info around. No matter how much he eats, his body just doesn't gain size. The adventurer says this is still a decent quest. If he wins, he gets a reward. But he warns Idol that he won't go easy on him. Idol plays it cool, casually wondering if he'd even get a single coin if he lost. The adventurer takes offense. Winning this match means promotion and recognition, and he refuses to let that slip away. Without warning, he lunges, shouting for Idol to die. Idol dodges effortlessly and closes the distance. In a flash, he pins the adventurer and presses a knife to his throat. The adventurer freezes, completely shaken. He didn't even see where the blade came from. Idol grins. A hidden trick is still a weapon. The adventurer surrenders immediately. Idol praises him and lowers the knife. He looks at it with a smirk, another tool summoned through magic. From the outside, it must have looked like the blade appeared from thin air. The match is declared. Idol wins and is promoted from E rank to D rank. His next opponent is a C rank ranger. Now slightly more confident, Idol realizes this isn't an ideal match for him. He's built to find openings, not brute force through direct fights. Neither of them has a finishing move, so the battle drags on. When the ranger loses focus for just a second, Idol takes advantage and lands a clean hit. Once again, he wins. The exam ends. The crowd seems bored. Some call it a cheap win. Others doubt the stories about the unexplored zone. They don't buy the rumors. Idol passes by, hearing every word. One adventurer says that if he really came from that kind of place, his power should have shown it. A speed-based C rank like that shouldn't be enough. Idol stays quiet and lets them talk. Golin walks over and hands him a towel. She congratulates him for finishing the test. As he wipes the sweat from his face, Idol thinks back to the forest. He survived because of bond summoning. Even reaching C rank took everything he had. A B rank promotion feels impossible. Then Golin asks if he's right-handed. She apologizes if she's wrong but points out something odd. He's been using his left hand for everything, fighting, eating. It doesn't seem natural. Idol explains. He was originally right-handed but injured his dominant arm in a small accident. The wound healed, but his grip never fully returned. He can still hold light objects, but there's no strength behind it. His left hand simply took over. Golin watches him closely. She says he looks uncomfortable when fighting. Idol is surprised. She explains that combat uses the entire body, and when one part is impaired, the whole balance is thrown off. Then she says it directly, his movements aren't complete. That hits hard. Idol doesn't deny it. This is all he has left. But Golin speaks again. She tells him to use bond summoning, this time, through his connection with her. He's confused. Using a summon here would draw attention. But Golin doesn't budge. She waits, expression still, refusing to take no for an answer. Idol finally gives in and honors her request. A screen appears, confirming access to auxiliary drive gauntlets. Golin tells him to summon and equip them. Idol does as she says. A gauntlet instantly forms around his right arm. At first, it just feels like a tight glove. Then it begins to move. On its own. Idol's right hand, once dismissed by doctors as beyond recovery, finally moves again. With the gauntlet equipped, his fingers regain full motion. Golin explains that the auxiliary drive gauntlet responds to neural signals by detecting electrical currents and activating artificial muscle fibers. The mechanism allows it to function just like a real hand. Idol doesn't understand the technical jargon. Golin simplifies it. Even in ancient times, people suffered from nerve damage. These gauntlets were made to help them recover, tools for support and rehabilitation. She's relieved the summoning worked. Idol looks at the gauntlet in awe, admiring its precision and power. Before he can say anything, a guild messenger interrupts. The next match is ready. Idol is called to the arena. As he grips a sword with his right hand for the first time in years, it feels like the weapon is molding into his palm, refusing to let go. His next opponent is Razor, a B-rank adventurer. As Razor steps forward, he takes the upper stance of the incensa style. Whispers spread across the crowd. Razor is known for leaving no openings. If a C-rank ranger had already given Idol trouble, someone at Razor's level should be far too much. Idol hears the comments, but he doesn't react. He steadies his breathing. Focus sharpens. His mind stays calm, undisturbed. As Razor launches a precise strike, Idol senses the killing intent and responds instantly. His counter lands clean. Razor's sword flies into the air. He stares in disbelief, unable to process how Idol landed the Exester-style tendril strike so cleanly. Razor lets out a sigh and concedes defeat. The crowd bursts into applause. Idol's victory is clear. As the next challenger enters, Idol quietly acknowledges it. At this point, his B-rank promotion is nearly locked in. But part of him still wonders if what he's done so far is enough. Then comes his final opponent, Charlotte, an A-ranked adventurer. She reminds him that one more battle remains. If he defeats her, he will be promoted straight to A rank. Since he's come this far, she tells him not to stop now. Idol reflects. Longing for what's already lost never leads anywhere. Every adventurer knows that. But Charlotte pushes back. She says that without taking the next step, no one ever reaches what they truly want. Charlotte begins her assault. She activates dual magic, floating and fire spells cast together. A massive fireball forms in the sky. Idol freezes. He recognizes the pattern. This is a warrior-killer setup. Warriors like him are helpless at range. Without a way to strike back, he's trapped. Charlotte confirms it. She read his combat style and prepared this exact counter. She keeps him at bay while raining fire from above. But maintaining two types of high-level magic should drain most mages quickly. Charlotte shows no sign of stopping. She's already been flying for a while and continues casting with full force. This is what it means to stand at the A-rank level. Idol realizes dodging isn't enough anymore. He can barely do that. Charlotte floats high, pressuring him to fight back or be crushed. Another fireball flies. The heat forces him to drop his sword. It burns too hot to hold. Charlotte watches with a smirk. A swordsman without his blade is no threat to her. She's sure Idol lacks the skill to reach A rank and figures there's no point using this fight to push herself. But for Idol, this isn't the first setback. And this time, the bond summoning technique answers his will. Drawing on his connection with Golin and Urshiva, he activates a compound bond. A sword materializes, the Moraine Maru. Charlotte is caught off guard. She demands to know where he was hiding a weapon like that. But she doesn't back down. A new sword means nothing if she stays in the air. Idol doesn't give her the chance. He channels fire through the blade. Charlotte laughs, thinking he's repeating his mistake. The heat will just burn his hand again. But this time, the gauntlet holds firm. He grips the flaming weapon without flinching. Charlotte realizes too late. He's nullified the magic. That fire won't hurt him anymore. Now Idol has a strategy. one designed specifically to counter airborne mages. He summons a knife using his bond with Goblin and hurls it toward her. Charlotte barely dodges and shouts in confusion, asking what kind of knife he's using. Idol calmly reveals it's a weapon made for range combat, a perfect answer for targets out of reach. He taunts her. If this was her unbeatable strategy, she clearly hadn't thought it through. Charlotte falters. She remembers how Idol fought like a typical swordsman just moments ago. Now he's attacking from range. It doesn't add up. Idol calls her tactics childish and short-sighted. Ever since being expelled from night school, he's had to figure things out alone. Bond summoning, like everything else, was built through pure trial and error. And now, summoning a single knife barely drains him. With nearly unlimited magic reserves, he starts throwing blades one after another without pause. Charlotte can't keep up. The barrage breaks her rhythm. Eventually, she stumbles midair, loses balance, and falls to the ground. Before she can recover, Idol points his sword at her. She's within range now. With no other option, Charlotte admits defeat. The crowd explodes in cheers. Idol stands frozen, stunned by the noise. The old man rushes over, praising him for holding his own and saying he always believed in him. Ogians also steps forward to offer his congratulations. Idol has proven himself. He's officially qualified to be an A-rank adventurer. But the moment doesn't last. Ogians casually reminds him, only one rank remains above. S rank. Idol looks horrified, asking if he's seriously expected to keep fighting. Fortunately, Ogians explains that no S-class adventurers are currently available. Instead, the guild will submit his promotion request directly to headquarters. Once they respond, the challenge for S rank will begin. Idol is already overwhelmed. Reaching A rank has made him a target. Going even higher would only draw more attention. For now, he brushes the thought aside and tells Ogians to begin the material exchange. Meanwhile, deep within the great tree sea, a shadow stirs. Exer begins to move. Hidden away in the most secret corners of the forest, he sets his sights on Idol. He remembers a moment from 3 years ago, just before graduation. Idol, on his knees before the prince, a scene Exer never expected to witness. During the night school's annual tournament, Idol reached the finals once again, only to finish as runner-up for the second year in a row. His opponent was the fourth prince, Mashuhata, who claimed victory and secured his reign as part of the Golden 13th Generation, legends among prodigies. The match had begun with intensity. Idol poured everything into his sword. For the first time, he forced the composed prince to fall back. Mashuhata was amused. Meanwhile, Exer watches the fight from the sidelines, completely stunned. The prince had dodged Idol's best attack like it was nothing. Then, without missing a beat, he countered with a quick combo. Idol tried to block, but the prince slipped through his guard and slashed the back of his right hand. The hit lands clean. Idol freezes for a second, the pain catches him off guard. Exer immediately notices something's different. That one hit isn't just about damage. There's weight behind it, pressure. Idol stumbles, wondering if he's about to lose again. But then, out of nowhere, his father's face flashes in his mind. Cold and disappointed. The man had always been clear failure would be tolerated twice. No more than that. Idol bites down and forces himself to keep going. He charges back in, but the difference in skill is too much. The prince is on another level. With a single move, he knocks Idol to the ground. All he can hear in his head is his father's voice telling him to win, to make the Jiraiya family proud. But even as he drops to one knee, Idol glares at the prince. He's not done. He's not giving up. Exer watches him, almost wanting him to stop, but Idol just keeps looking up with that same stubborn look in his eyes. The prince smirks and tells him it's already over. Idol knows he's right. He thinks back on everything he did to meet his father's expectations. He had pushed himself to the limit, but it wasn't enough. The prince's last few attacks left his right hand in even worse shape. The injury's permanent now. He can't grip a sword with that hand anymore. As expected, his father doesn't care. He calls the loss disgraceful and cuts Idol off from the family without hesitation. From that day on, everything changes. It's not just his hand that's broken, something inside him gives out too. He stops training, stops trying, and just drifts through the days like a shell. The dream of becoming a knight fades away, and eventually, he leaves home for good. Looking back, maybe if he had won that match, he could have stood in Ziku's way. But maybe that was never possible. Guys like Ziku, so-called geniuses, probably don't even understand what it means to care about anyone else. After cutting ties with his father, Exer starts searching for Idol. He hears that Idol entered the Idiru region near the Great Tree Sea, so while handling his regular night duties, he also begins searching on the side. Eventually, he gets reassigned to the frontier town of Betrinus, which is close to the forest. Back then, he had asked his father where Idol had gone but got no answer. If it were Ziku, he probably would have solved it instantly, but Exer isn't a genius. Day after day, he chases after a younger brother who had no one left and was clearly at his limit. Their father's pressure never stopped. Looking back, Exer thinks he should have protected him better from the start. One night, Exer is drinking alone at a local pub when the old man who used to look after Idol walks up to him. He jokes about how a guy his age shouldn't be drinking like this, then serves him a meal and asks how he's been. He's surprised that a knight from the central region ended up in a remote place like this and wants to know why. Exer admits he transferred here and jokes that even their father wouldn't bother coming this far. He remembers the expression on his father's face when he told him he was cutting ties. It was the look of a man watching someone throw away their future. The old man reacts like it's a tragedy, saying that for a new knight, this kind of move is basically career-ending. There's almost no chance of rising through the ranks now, but Exer doesn't seem bothered. He says it with pride and makes it clear that he has his own path to follow. The old man suddenly bursts out laughing, which catches Exer off guard. He says they're actually really similar, except his own family chose to support him. He doesn't hold back either. Then Exer casually mentions that he's actually looking for his younger brother. The old man asks how old the boy is, and Exer says 15, with dark hair. The old man stops for a moment, surprised. He says he's also been looking for someone just like that. Then, almost at the same time, they both say the same name, Idol. The old man freezes, asking if he really knows him. Exer says yes. He's not just someone he's looking for. That boy is his little brother. A few months later, Exer meets up with the old man again. The old man asks if there's been any progress, but Exer says nothing has changed. The old man admits it's the same on his end, no new information. He apologizes, but Exer tells him not to worry. If they hadn't met, he never would have thought to look into the adventurer world in the first place. That's when he finds out that Idol is kind of a big deal. Exer hears from adventurers who've crossed paths with him. One says he'd be dead if Idol hadn't helped. Another says he moves like a perfect teammate in battle. Someone else claims he's the standard for frontline combat. Others say he can handle almost any situation, that his biggest strength is being able to do everything. And yet Idol himself supposedly says he's just average, not great at anything in particular. Some call him an all-rounder. Not an all-round genius, but an all-round normal guy. Exer realizes something. The same kid who was treated like a failure in the night world is now respected in the adventurer community. That hits him. He admits it's ironic that he didn't even know what his brother had accomplished. Then the old man drops something new. He's kept it to himself until now. It's been months since Idol entered the Great Tree Sea. And that place isn't just dangerous, it's one of the deadliest areas in the entire world. But Exer doesn't back down. He says he's going to find his brother. He wants to look him in the eye and tell him he's not alone. That there are still people who care about him. With that, Exer turns his attention toward the Great Tree Sea. Meanwhile, Idol returns to the forest outskirts, where the girls rush out to greet him. Urshiva begs for a back scratch, and Nyafu wants him to scratch the base of her tail. She's completely unfiltered at this point. As they crowd around him, Golem quickly steps in and puts a stop to it. She orders them to back off, reminding everyone that their master just got back and needs rest. Nyafu then notices Golem's new outfit and asks what it's about. Goleen smirks and says it's a symbol of loyalty. As a servant, it's her duty to ease her master's fatigue. Then she turns the question on Nyafu, asking if she's jealous of the outfit. Nyafu shrugs it off, saying she doesn't care about clothes. They're stiff and uncomfortable anyway. Goleen is a little concerned that Nyafu might be rejecting civilization altogether, but Idol doesn't take it too seriously. He just tells Nyafu he'd appreciate it if she at least wore her clothes. Out of nowhere, Goleen turns to Idol and insists they check out the exposition. Before he can say anything, she pulls out a space warping box and starts unloading small furniture, like she's setting up a living room in the middle of nowhere. There's a tablecloth, a cushion, and even an umbrella stand. Idol just stares. He had no idea she brought any of this. Goleen excitedly shows off a frog decoration on the umbrella stand, calling it a sophisticated design. Idol has no clue how to respond, so he just gets to work arranging the furniture. But the moment they unpack the table, he realizes it's way too big. It's made for 10 people, and clearly won't fit their current space. Trying not to let it get to him, he moves on and sets up the bed next, only to find that the bed frame and the mattress don't even match in size. Idol blames the whole mess on the promotion exam eating up all his time. Goleen just silently judges his terrible measuring skills, while Nyafu mutters that the real problem is Goleen buying things they don't even need. Eventually, Idol tells them to put everything away and deal with it tomorrow. The next day, Goblin finishes building a table from scratch that actually fits the dining room. Idol is shocked at how fast she managed it, but she says using the tree-cutting tools was just too much fun. She's even thinking of picking up Sunday carpentry. The table turns out exactly like she imagined. Pleased with the result, she suggests bringing it inside. Idol hesitates, unsure if it'll fit through the door, but Goblin tells him to just stand it upright. He follows her advice, and it slides in perfectly. Goblin tells them to bring the chairs in next. Idol follows her and is immediately stunned. She built chairs too. He asks when she even had the time to make them, clearly caught off guard. But instead of being proud, Goblin looks offended. She snaps that goblins are supposed to be messengers of destruction and slaughter. Building furniture doesn't exactly scream chaos and carnage. Still, Idol tells her she did a solid job. That only makes her more upset. She thinks it makes her look soft. She reminds him of her true nature, but Idol just laughs, wondering if she really believes that kind of thing still matters. Goblin doubles down, saying she handled all the prep work herself. She gathered the materials, did the processing, everything. Idol agrees, pointing out that when dealing with animal materials, the blood has to be drained, and for plant stuff, the moisture needs to be removed. But back then, it was all too much to handle alone, so he asked her for help. Turns out the finished goods were good enough that the guild praised the quality. That helped them earn more gold than expected during the material exchange. Now Goblin finally looks satisfied. She says of course they were praised. She doesn't believe in compromise. Idol smiles but admits he doesn't remember her being that intense. In his mind, he was just doing the work calmly, trying to get everything done right. That's exactly what Goblin says she hated. She wants goblins to be loud, wild, and completely unhinged. She refuses to be outdone by cats and dogs. If they could leave a mark, then so could she. Out of nowhere, Goblin suddenly charges toward Idol. There's a strange glow radiating from her, and Idol is caught completely off guard. He has no idea what she's about to do. Suddenly, Idol stares in shock as he sees a beautiful woman standing before him, smiling. He freezes, unable to process what just happened. Then it clicks. He realizes who she is and asks if she's Goblina. The woman smiles and greets him. Idol is still confused, wondering if this transformation is also an effect of the bond summoning technique. Goblina confirms with a smile, saying that his technique allows for strong bonds to take form, and now asks if he can modify the contract. Even now, they're both stunned, since changing someone's gender is supposed to be impossible. Goblina gently clarifies again, saying she's always been female. Idol nods, saying he had a feeling already. Her name always sounded feminine. Goblina then slowly walks up to him, closing the distance until they're nearly nose to nose. In a soft voice, she asks if he wants to pair up with her. Before he can answer, a loud scream echoes behind them. It's Golin. Idol snaps back to reality. He stumbles to explain that he's just surprised, but the other girls aren't buying it. None of them believe him. To them, Goblina is clearly a new threat, another rival in the competition for Idol's attention. Golin immediately gets an idea. The next morning, she shows up holding a dozen eggs, announcing that she's making breakfast. Idol is surprised and impressed. Golin explains that she already bought all the necessary cooking utensils and got the kitchen ready. She says she's been planning this for a long time and wants him to enjoy a proper, warm, homemade meal. She smiles confidently and says she's going to make it herself. Idol is caught off guard. He didn't know she could cook. Golin simply smiles again and says she's a fully automatic machine designed to handle any situation, and that includes cooking as well. Idol still can't believe it. He's genuinely impressed and now curious to see how the food will turn out. While waiting for the meal, Slappy shows Idol a new painting he decorated, trying to keep him entertained. But Idol starts to get a little impatient. Just then, Golin calls out and announces that the food is finally ready. She walks in with the plates and apologizes for the long wait. She sets the plate down in front of him and says she made an omelet. Idol eagerly gets ready to eat, but Golin stops him, saying the dish isn't finished yet. She pulls out a bottle of ketchup and carefully draws a heart shape on top of the omelet. Idol is caught off guard by the gesture, but Golin smiles and says there's still more. She announces that she's about to cast the ultimate spell, one said to enhance flavor and passed down from ancient civilizations. She forms a heart shape with her hands, chants the spell, and tells him the dish is now complete. She urges him to try it, saying the omelet has absorbed her love and reached its peak form. Before Idol can react, Nyafu and Urshiva show up, excited by the smell of food. Without waiting for permission, they grab forks and start digging into the omelet. Golin panics and tries to stop them, saying she made that dish especially for Idol, but they completely ignore her. Within seconds, the plate is wiped clean. Nyafu and Urshiva give their reviews, casually mentioning that the omelet tasted a bit overcooked. Idol watches the chaos unfold in silence, unable to say anything. Golin starts getting annoyed and tries dragging the others away, but Idol tells her to calm down. He tries to figure out how to handle the situation, but before anything else, he realizes he's still starving. Right on cue, Goblina walks in holding another omelet. She says she made a fresh one herself and even cleaned the kitchen. Idol is impressed and takes a bite. The moment the taste hits his tongue, he freezes. There's something inside the omelet. He chews again and recognizes the flavor. It's crab meat. Excited, he asks about it. Goblina explains that she reused the leftover meat from the king crab they processed earlier. Idol smiles, saying it tastes incredible. Golin starts to panic. She realizes Goblina is stealing all her thunder. She says she can cook too and can prepare something quickly, but even she can see the difference in skill. Goblina's abilities are far beyond her own. Goblina tries to act tough, insisting she's still the most evil goblin who specializes in destruction, not creation. But deep down, she knows her essence as a goblin is fading, though she's keeping that to herself for now. Idol tries to change the mood. He asks Goblina if she can make some soup as well. She nods and says she's working on onion soup. Just then, Slappy arrives holding his own creation. Idol asks what he brought. Slappy shows him a single egg, cracks it open, and reveals a perfectly half-boiled egg. Idol is amazed. He didn't expect this level of precision. He starts to truly appreciate how much the bond summoning technique has made possible. Suddenly, Nyafu bursts into the room with urgent news. She says there's an intruder in their territory. Everyone heads outside, and one of the wolves arrives, dragging a disheveled man through the dirt. The stranger looks like an ordinary human, covered in mud and wearing damaged armor. Idol walks up and asks if he was in some kind of accident. He thanks Nyafu for the report, and kneels down to get a better look. As he removes the stranger's hood, he tells Slappy to help clean him up and pour water using soft pressure. The man's clothes are soaked in mud, and Idol notices the knight's armor underneath. He wonders what someone like that is doing here. Summoning a blade, Idol trims the man's beard to see his face more clearly. As soon as the beard comes off and the man's features are revealed, Idol stares in disbelief. It's Exer. Shocked, Idol stumbles back, wondering why Exer of all people is here. Exer slowly regains consciousness, opens his eyes, and asks where he is. Idol offers him some water. As he drinks, Exer gathers his strength and says someone helped him after he lost his way, but he has no idea who it was. He explains that he came here searching for his younger brother, Idol, who should be somewhere in the Great Tree Sea. As his vision clears and he looks closer at the person beside him, he suddenly realizes it's Idol. Exer immediately starts apologizing. He says he's sorry for not being able to protect him. He explains that their father has now cut ties with him as well, and suggests that they return home together. But Idol smiles and tells him to calm down. He hands him the water again and says they can talk after he eats something. Later that night, inside their home, Idol gives Exer a bowl of soup, saying it'll help with digestion. Then he asks him directly why he came all the way out here. Exer replies that the only reason he came was to find him. Idol is confused, but Exer explains that when he returned home, he learned that the old man had disowned Idol. After hearing that, he was furious. He cut ties with their father too. Exer tells Idol that he had always admired his swordsmanship and his academic efforts. He worked harder than most and still got results. But Idol doesn't agree. Exer insists, saying that their father kept making ridiculous demands even though he never ranked in the top 10 himself when he was a student. Idol freezes. That's something he never knew until now. He screams in shock, finally realizing the truth. Exer says there's no point worrying about that anymore. He also reveals the real reason their father couldn't reach the top was because Prince Mashuda was in the same year, and nobody could beat him. After that, the whole family started drifting away from the old man. Exer cut off all ties. Their mother returned to her family's home with their sister, and even Zeke used his position to pressure their father and took over as head of the house. Idol realizes now that Zeke has long surpassed their father, and it's no surprise to hear he became the new family head. Exer says maybe Zeke did it as revenge for how the old man treated Idol. But Idol doesn't think that's the reason. He knows Zeke is always calm, efficient, and logical. He probably just decided it was more efficient to take over the household himself. Idol then shifts the conversation. He asks why Exer came here now of all times. It's Exer's first year as a knight, which is a critical period. Exer says he was assigned to the Border Guard Knights in Betrinus. Idol is shocked, but Exer explains he volunteered for the position. Serving at the castle would have made it harder to search for him. Idol still doesn't understand why Exer would throw away his future just to find someone like him. Exer tells him it's because he's his younger brother. He admits there were many times Idol needed him, but he wasn't there. He confesses that he should have encouraged him after the training match. He says he doesn't even deserve to call himself Idol's older brother. Hearing that, Idol begins to reflect. Back then, he never thought to ask for help. He believed he had to handle everything on his own. He never imagined his family would actually worry about him or come looking. Now he realizes, if he had just left a message, Exer wouldn't have thrown away his promotion just to find him. Exer tells him not to overthink it. He didn't come here to make him feel guilty. He says they should live together and plan for the future. He mentions that they can stay at their mother's house. He smiles and says he just wanted to tell him that their family. Idol quietly apologizes, saying he had no idea Exer cared so much. He tells him not to worry because he's doing something he truly enjoys now. Exer is surprised and asks if he really means it. Idol explains that it's true. He never wanted to be weak, and since he was expelled and disinherited, this is the path he's chosen. Now he's wondering if he should explain the bond summoning technique to his brother. Just then, Golin rushes in with urgent news. The vampires have launched an attack. Idol immediately gathers his team. As they get ready, he thinks that maybe showing Exer what he's become capable of would be faster than trying to explain it with words. Exer immediately stands up in panic and demands to know who launched the attack. But Idol tells him there's no time to explain and asks him to just watch. He quickly adds that Golin used to be a vampire. She explains that vampires are a type of demon tribe, one that's forbidden from acting under sunlight, but under moonlight, their magical power grows significantly, far beyond that of regular demon tribes. As they walk outside, Idol realizes it's already past midnight. Before he can react, a powerful presence descends. A figure floats above them. It's the vampire lord. Nyafu and Urshiva panic. Idol sees their fear as the vampire introduces himself with pride, calling himself Nikudrian, a noble vampire. He laughs and says he's heard rumors that the golem previously stationed here has disappeared, and even the territory itself seems to have changed. Nyafu and Urshiva try to stand their ground, asking if he's here to fight. But Nikudrian mocks them, asking where the golem is. He explains that golems are ancient and mysterious beings. Their structure holds secrets that even the deepest knowledge of demonkind can't fully grasp. If demons could unlock those secrets, they might even gain powers capable of surpassing the divine tribes. Nikudrian says he was personally ordered by the Demon King to monitor the situation and keep him updated. But now, with the golem missing, he cannot return without an explanation. Laughing, he demands an answer, saying it would be an honor to serve a noble vampire like himself. Idol smirks, thinking this vampire is overconfident and foolish. But suddenly, Nikudrian's hand begins squirting blood. Idol panics at the sight. He realizes that this can't be allowed to continue and thinks that if nothing else, destroying this vampire would be doing the world a favor. Nikudrian prepares to attack. Idol immediately summons his blade, Muramesa, and shields everyone behind him. The vampire stops in midair, stunned that a human just blocked his attack. He demands to know how Idol, a supposedly weak human, possesses such power. Idol smiles and calmly says he can tell the vampire where the golem went. Nikudrian demands to know how someone like him would know that. But Idol turns the tables, saying he'll only give an answer if the vampire answers his question first. He asks what Nikudrian intends to do if he finds the golem. Idol already considers Golin a friend and ally. Knowing she's the golem in question, he's not going to let anything happen to her. The vampire grows impatient and tries to attack again. Idol stops him once more, pressing the same question, asking if he really isn't interested in the golem anymore. Frustrated, Nikudrian snarls and says he'll kill Idol first. He adds that if Idol were a woman, he might have drunk his blood, but a man's blood is foul. He says it's disrespectful for a human male to even talk to him, and now he must die. Idol deflects another attack. He's clearly annoyed by how much the vampire talks. But he quickly realizes the truth: Nikudrian's attacks are powerful. If this keeps up, he won't be able to hold out much longer. That's when Exer suddenly charges in. He yells out to Idol that they should fight together. Idol is shocked, but Exer doesn't wait. He tells him to stand back and leave this to him. Exer says it's his duty to protect his younger sibling. Idol watches him, realizing his brother is too determined to back down now, but he's also just as determined not to let Exer do anything reckless. Without hesitation, Idol summons the golem. It appears instantly in front of them as Golin transforms into her true form. The vampire stares in shock, and Idol mocks him, saying that this is exactly what he was looking for. Golin is furious. She charges at the vampire, declaring that she has no choice but to beat him up for trying to kill her master. As she rushes in, she channels her energy, and suddenly, a powerful beam of light fires straight from the golem's eyes, hitting the vampire head-on. Idol and Exer stare in shock. Idol turns to his brother and explains that this is a golem, a descendant of an ancient civilization that has protected this land for over 2,000 years. He says he summoned it as his ally using his skill, the bond summoning technique. Even now, Idol is still surprised by the golem's new ability. The beam of light is called the Rebel Blast. It's the primary armament installed within the golem's armor. Golin explains that the previous golem armor was too old to use this skill due to age degradation. But now, in this newly summoned golem, the ability works perfectly without any issues. Idol is still processing everything and turns to his brother again, saying that he only planned to show him the bond summoning technique. He never expected any of this to happen. Golin stops Idol and points toward the lingering cloud of dust. She reminds him that vampires possess some of the strongest regenerative powers in the entire demon tribe. As long as there's moonlight, they can restore themselves even from near extinction. Right then, the vampire laughs as his body starts regenerating. He says today is a great day. He's discovered the golem, and now it even has an upgraded form. He suddenly starts blushing, unable to control himself as he stares at the smooth, refined body of the new golem. He's ecstatic just thinking about the possibilities. If they offer this golem to the Demon King, he knows the reward will be immense. Idol grows more irritated by the vampire's attitude, and Gablina agrees that someone like this is incapable of forming any kind of bond. Idol says there's only one solution left. They have to end this quickly. The vampire starts screaming like a spoiled child, throwing a tantrum, but Idol stays calm and asks Slappy to summon a water vortex into the sky. The swirling water begins to block the moonlight. The vampire panics. The protection granted by the moon is fading fast, and he starts to fall into the vortex. Desperate, he claws his way back up and bursts from the water, yelling at Idol and his group, mocking them and demanding to know how they could even dream of defeating an absolute being like him. Idol watches as the vampire blows away the vortex in rage but calmly moves to the next step. He signals Gablina to get ready. She responds instantly, and rushes toward the vampire with her blade drawn. Her attack connects, and she laughs, though slightly disappointed that she can't eat the vampire. The vampire staggers and loses balance, falling straight into the vortex again. Idol and Gablina mock him without holding back. But suddenly, the vampire transforms into a wolf-dragon hybrid. He bursts out of the vortex, furious and foaming with rage, screaming wildly. Just as he prepares to attack, he suddenly freezes and realizes that he can't regenerate anymore. Panic sets in. Golin explains calmly that her golem's laser blast isn't just a weapon. It uses true law, an ability that eliminates all impure principles. The vampire's fate was sealed the moment that attack landed. The wolf dragon begins disintegrating, its body turning to dust. Golin mocks him, saying this is the punishment for mocking her master. Idol summons Muramasa once more and finishes it off with a powerful waterfall slash, wiping out the vampire's last remnants for good. After the fight with the vampire, the dust is still hanging in the air when Idol and his group return to their base. Things calm down a bit once Exer finally gets to meet the unusual allies standing beside his brother. The group is still shaken though. They can't believe a vampire was actually defeated. During the battle, all they could do was hide since vampires are on a completely different level. Even knights struggle against them, needing holy weapons, prayers, and sunlight just to stand a chance. Exer looks at Idol's companions, confused at what he's seeing. It's shocking enough that so many powerful people would live in such a dangerous forbidden area, but even stranger that they follow Idol. That's when Idol introduces them one by one. To him, they aren't just allies, they're family. He explains that it's all thanks to his research into something called the bond summoning technique. By using it, he was able to create permanent bonds with allies no one else would ever dare to approach. Exer repeats the name of the technique, clearly stunned. He realizes just how far Idol has drifted from the old life they once shared. Still, Exer is a knight through and through. He offers Idol a way back, a return to the traditions they grew up with. But Idol refuses without hesitation. He says going back will have to wait. The bonds he has now are too important. The others stay quiet, but they all agree with him. He even says he wants to master bond summoning. Exer watches everything unfold and realizes something important. His younger brother isn't alone anymore. The family they once knew may be broken, but in its place Idol has built something new, bonds formed by choice and tested through danger, bonds that feel even stronger than blood. A few days later, at the royal castle, Zeke stands before the king. The court is in crisis because Princess Maria del, beloved by many, has fallen ill with a disease no one in the kingdom can cure. The doctors speak of a legendary elixir said to exist in the Ideaner Great Tree Sea, a place surrounded by mystery and danger. This medicine is rumored to heal even the worst wounds and restore any lost hope. Desperate, The king turns to Ziku and asks him to lead an expedition to retrieve this all-purpose spiritual medicine. The king entrusts him with the mission, both as a ruler and as a father who wants to save his daughter. But Ziku surprises everyone by refusing. He explains that a knight's role is to protect the nation and the royal family from threats, not to search for rare treasures in forbidden lands. A task like this, he says, should be left to adventurers, who are better suited for dangerous exploration. The court is shocked by his words. One young knight even challenges him, asking if he dares to defy the king's command. Ziku, calm as ever, says he's ready to accept the consequences, even if that means being removed from the night squad. The hall falls into tense silence, but Ziku stands by his decision, choosing duty and order over emotion. With the hall divided, Mashuharu steps forward. He offers to take Ziku's place and lead the expedition himself. As a student about to graduate from the Knight Academy, he feels ready to take responsibility and face the dangers of the Great Tree Sea. The king, weighed down by his daughter's suffering, thanks him for his courage. Mashuharu's resolve sets him apart. He believes in action over hesitation, willing to risk everything for loyalty and love. The younger knights take notice, impressed by his determination as he prepares to head into the Great Tree Sea in search of the legendary elixir. But the situation grows more complicated. Outside the palace, Exer brings troubling news. While searching for Idol in the royal capital, he kept running into the prince's men. That means Idol's location isn't a secret anymore. Exer warns them that the prince isn't someone who relies only on subordinates. When the time is right, he'll move personally. The prince's target isn't just the medicine. He's after something more. Exer reveals that the squad being sent from the capital will be led by none other than Prince Mashuhara himself. The name alone grabs everyone's attention. Exer admits he was even approached to join their side, but he refused. He knows too well that the prince's circle always hides motives behind polite words. With that, the picture becomes clear. If Exer has already been noticed by the prince's men, then it's only a matter of time before the prince tracks Idol down in the depths of the forest. The pressure is closing in. The prince wants the medicine, but he also wants Idol. The weight of the news hangs heavy on the group. Idol isn't just running anymore. Now he has to face what's coming, with a royal threat closing in on the life he's built. They sit together to plan their next move after hearing about Prince Mashuhara's intent. The prince won't back down. He's determined to pull someone out of the forest and secure the medicine that can cure even the worst illness, and his reputation makes it clear he'll use any method necessary. Time is short, and everyone knows they need to move before his party arrives. The discussion shifts to the medicine itself. What exactly is it that the prince is after? The answer shocks them. The cure is made from the wings of fairies, torn off and crushed into powder. The room goes quiet as the weight of that truth sinks in. Goline voices her discomfort, saying she can't support killing living creatures for anything beyond food. She points out the cruelty of it, especially since fairies are known for being mysterious and delicate. Idol agrees with her feelings, admitting he doesn't want to leave a bitter taste in tomorrow's meal. But deep down he also knows one thing: if Prince Mashuhara is after this cure, he won't hesitate to get it by any means, no matter how cruel. As they talk it over, a new plan takes shape. If one of them can use the bond summoning technique to form a contract with a fairy, then maybe the fairy will give up the medicine willingly. That way, no harm would be needed. The attendant throws the idea out with some excitement, and the group starts to see it as their best chance to beat the prince without sinking to his level. The problem now is finding a fairy in the first place. Fairies are masters of hiding, able to vanish into the forest and disguise themselves with magic. They're tiny, delicate beings, often looking like little girls with clear wings, small enough to rest in the palm of a hand. Idol gathers the group to begin the search, but it doesn't take long for them to realize how difficult this task really is. The forest is huge, and even the tracking skills of the prison wolf tribe aren't enough to make spotting a fairy easy. Still, everyone stays determined. They'll find one, make a bond, and get the medicine before the prince does, even if the challenge feels impossible. Nyafu steps up and takes charge, telling Idol they can count on her pack. She fires up the wolves with promises of treats for whoever finds the target first. And just like that, the group is sprinting into the forest with sharp noses and eager hearts. Their energy lifts the mood, and it feels like maybe they really can pull this off. But fairies aren't ordinary prey. Even with wolf instincts, the search quickly proves frustrating. Fairies can hide their scent and even mask their sounds, making them nearly impossible to track. One wolf gets ahead of himself, bragging for praise too early, only to get scolded for forgetting that only their master decides on rewards. Hours pass, and despite their best efforts, the wolves return empty-handed. Not even Golin's pack can sniff out a fairy. She admits as much, a little frustrated, but Idle tells her not to worry. The group pulls back together to rethink the problem. It's clear now, brute force and tracking won't be enough. If they want to catch a fairy, they'll need something smarter. A plan that takes creativity, patience, and maybe even a stroke of luck. Idle and his group finally manage to catch the fairy, grabbing her just as she's about to slip away into the tall grass. Right away she starts talking, cheerful and mischievous, explaining that fairies are pranksters by nature. She admits to causing all sorts of little trouble, like leading sheep the wrong way in the forest, or even messing with people's food. To her, it's all just harmless fun. The group listens, half amused and half annoyed, while also wondering if this playful creature could really be the source of the legendary medicine everyone's after. The fairy doesn't make it easy, dodging serious questions and tossing in jokes whenever she can. Tired of going in circles, they bring up the idea of forming a contract. The fairy pretends to panic about becoming a pet but quickly agrees when she realizes they mean a proper partnership. Since fairies are only given names when they bond with a human, Idle performs the ritual and grants her one. The moment is special for her, getting a name for the first time and officially joining the group. With the contract sealed, the fairy becomes the newest member of Idle's party, bringing her strange magic, unpredictable energy, and plenty of mischief along with her. Idle turns to the fairy and suggests it's time to give her an official name. After some playful back and forth, he settles on calling her Pixie. The little fairy lights up with joy, excited to finally have an identity of her own. Wanting to test her abilities, Idle asks her to try a summoning demonstration. She happily agrees, but before anything happens, Golin quickly steps in, warning them not to take summoning lightly. Even with the warning, Pixie goes ahead and summons Flower, and in an instant, white clouds fill the air around them. Visibility drops, and Idle immediately points out the danger. Powder suspended in the air can ignite with a single spark, causing a serious explosion. Golin agrees, adding that while Flower itself exists in their world and isn't deadly, handling it carelessly could cause real problems. Exer tries to make sense of it, wondering how much confusion this kind of scene could cause if it happened around ordinary people. Nyafa stays on guard, ready to jump to safety if things go wrong. Golin reminds everyone to be careful not to breathe in the powder, and warns them about what could happen if Pixie ever summons something more dangerous, like poisonous scales or hallucinogens. The group jokes that maybe the contract might let more bonded creatures show up later, which excites Pixie even more. She enjoys all the attention, thrilled at how much fun her new powers bring. Still, Idle and the others can't ignore the lesson here. Bond summoning might open incredible possibilities, but it's also unpredictable and risky. Every new skill comes with responsibility, and one careless move could turn excitement into disaster. Exer decides he's going with them when they deliver the fairy medicine to the royals. Since he's the one responsible for handing it over, he insists on seeing it through to the end. The fairy quickly chimes in too, eager to tag along out of pure curiosity and excitement. Idle warns them that the capital's group won't be coming with peaceful intentions. Their real goal is to rip the fairy's wings off, not just accept medicine at face value. On top of that, showing up with a pouch of mysterious white powder and calling it a cure isn't something the royals will just believe. Still, the fairy argues that her own presence should help prove the medicine is real, and the group agrees that bringing her along might be the only way to convince anyone. With that settled, they decide the Pixie will join the party as living proof. They hope once everything is cleared up, Prince Mashuhata will finally turn back without further trouble. Meanwhile, preparations are underway outside the town. The royal knights finish organizing, saddling horses, and getting ready to march. Brooks is given command of the unit that will circle around and approach from the rear, and she accepts without hesitation. Among the knights, there's an unspoken understanding. They have to play their roles in the royal family's drama while keeping their personal ambitions hidden. Some reflect quietly on their duty, one determined to support his sister and protect family honor, while another questions his own worth as he thinks about the prince's obsession with controlling the town of Ithiel. For Prince Mashuhata, though, there's no doubt. This mission is more than just about medicine, it's another step in his push toward becoming king. Prince Mashuhata gathers his group and makes a bold announcement. He declares that his ambition is nothing less than becoming king. The knights in attendance react with shock, unsure if he's serious about aiming for the throne, but Mashuhata tells them to think about the possibility carefully. If he wins the succession struggle, everything changes. As the discussion turns to his rivals, he insists his claim is far stronger than any failed or incompetent princess. He points to Ithiel as a better comparison, arguing that Ithiel's value and potential far outweigh that of others. The young lady of the powerful ducal house, Aressa, listens closely. She admits she's heard plenty of rumors about Ithiel being useless, struggling in mock battles, underperforming in school, and lacking any real achievements. Still, she can see that the prince himself is fixated on him, which makes her wonder if there's more to Ithiel than the gossip suggests. Mashuhata doesn't back down. He explains that he only wants capable and talented people at his side, and Ithiel might be one of those hidden gems worth recruiting. His philosophy is clear: superior talent should never be wasted. He promises that when he becomes king, he'll make use of every skilled individual he can gather, no matter their background, because the road to the throne demands nothing less. Mashuhata's leadership is clear from the start. He's ambitious, direct, and focused on building the strongest team possible to secure his path to the throne. With the royal succession at stake, every move he makes is about gathering talent and showing decisive authority. The royal expedition finally reaches the outskirts of town, where preparations are already underway. Mashuhata wastes no time giving orders, telling his knights to get ready for immediate entry into the forest. Anyone who objects is quickly dismissed, with instructions to return to the capital instead. His authority leaves no room for hesitation. A knight steps forward with new information. Reports confirm that the spiritual medicine they came to retrieve has already been found by the local guard knights. This revelation changes everything. The main purpose of their mission is gone. There's no longer a need to search the forest for the cure. Mashuhata takes the news in stride, staying calm and composed. For the squad, however, the realization stings. Their chance to earn glory and prestige through this quest has disappeared, resolved before they even arrived. The royal party finally arrives, and the air is heavy with tension as Prince Mashuhata demands answers about Exer and the mysterious potion at the center of their mission. One of the knights steps forward, calm and collected, clearly prepared for this moment. He explains that he's already arranged something to clear up the doubts surrounding the medicine. He tells Mashuhata and the others that the best way to prove the truth is to hear directly from the creator of the potion. If they can get testimony straight from the source, no one will be able to deny its legitimacy. The crowd quiets down as Mashuhata listens carefully, hand raised and eyes sharp, making it clear he expects nothing but absolute clarity. The knight then signals the big reveal, announcing that it's time for the creator to step forward. Everyone turns toward the entrance, anticipation rising as they wait to see who's behind the miracle cure. And then, in the middle of all the seriousness, Pixie makes her grand entrance. She bursts onto the scene full of energy, introducing herself as Pixie the Fairy, clearly loving the attention. The knights are stunned, unable to believe their eyes. Their leader demands an explanation, but Pixie just soaks up the spotlight, bragging about how trendy and cool she is. She explains how Idol's group found her deep inside the great tree ocean, talking like a celebrity showing off her own fame. One of the knights steps in, trying to calm things down and telling Pixie to keep quiet, but she refuses to be ignored. Instead, she shows off, calling out her special move, Pixie Flash, while dazzling everyone around her. Her flashy entrance feels more like a performance than a formal introduction, and her playful energy completely takes over the scene. By the time she's done, the royal party has no choice but to recognize her for what she is. The legendary fairy medicine isn't just a rumor anymore, it's tied directly to this lively, mischievous creature. The mood shifts when Prince Mashahata steps forward. In front of everyone, he lays out his vision clearly. He declares that he'll use any talent, no matter where it comes from, even his own brother if necessary, as long as it serves the country. To him, true happiness comes when a person's talent is acknowledged and put to use, and as a royal, it's his duty to make sure no resource or person goes to waste for the good of the kingdom. His words spark mixed reactions. Some see confidence, others see arrogance, wondering if he even understands what justice really means. But Mashahata doesn't back down. For him, there's no difference between personal ambition and public duty. If you're a knight or a member of the royal family, everything you do, your strengths, your choices, your very life, is tied to the needs of the nation. Mashahata makes his stance even clearer. He says royalty can never live as private individuals, since their lives are always on display and every action affects the kingdom. For him, using the talents of others, whether friend or sibling, is not just his right but his duty. He warns everyone not to get in his way, claiming that opposing his purpose is the same as opposing the country itself. The debate eventually winds down as attention shifts back to the fairy. At the edge of the forest, the leading knight makes a firm announcement. The fairy will be taken directly to the castle under escort. The order surprises many. If the medicine is already obtained, why bring the fairy herself? The explanation is blunt. If the cure is real, the kingdom must secure a steady and reliable supply. Something this valuable can't be left to chance. The leading knight calls on Exarga to join the escort, trusting his skill with strange and unpredictable situations. With the fairy now considered a national asset, the mission carries weight unlike anything before. Exarga accepts, knowing the safety of the royal family, and the medicine depends on him. But before the escort can even move, the air shifts violently. Darkness spreads across the sky as a figure descends with overwhelming force. The atmosphere twists with pure malice, and the soldiers freeze when they recognize him. The Demon King himself has appeared. His presence alone bends the air around him, marking him as the supreme ruler of monsters and the most feared of all magical beings. Fear ripples through the ranks, and someone mutters in disbelief, wondering why he would show up here of all places. The weather responds to his arrival. Clouds spiral, winds roar, and shadows swallow the land. Idol's companions react instantly, one of them jumping in front of him with a shout to stay back. The sense of danger is overwhelming, as if the entire scene is about to collapse under the Demon King's power. Hovering in the storm, his wings spread wide, the Demon King surveys everyone below. The sheer pressure of his presence makes even veteran knights falter. When he finally descends, it's with a grace that only magnifies his authority, his gaze sharp as he fixes his attention on the crowd that dares stand before him. On the ground, the group scrambles to react. The Demon King's power is overwhelming, far beyond anything they've faced before. His magic eclipses even top-class magicians, leaving their attacks useless against someone who dominates the skies. One companion curses their own efforts, frustrated that nothing seems to reach him. Above them, the Demon King smirks, fully aware of the chaos his presence creates. The party tries to think of a plan, but the situation feels hopeless. Fighting an enemy who can fly and rain destruction from above isn't just difficult, it feels unfair. Idol yells at him to stop hiding in the air and fight on the ground, a cry that echoes the desperation of everyone watching. But the Demon King doesn't need to prove himself. From high above, he asserts control with ease, forcing Idol and the others to realize brute strength alone won't win this fight. If they want to stand a chance, they'll need strategy, courage, and every ounce of teamwork they can muster. The tension doesn't fade when the battle quiets. Back at their base, Idol and his companions face an even harder truth. Their settlement, the place they've fought for and filled with memories, is no longer safe. The weight of the decision hangs over them: stay and risk everything, or leave behind the home they've built together. Idol gathers everyone and speaks with calm determination. He admits how painful it is to even think about leaving their home, a place built with so much effort and filled with memories. But he reminds them that one thing matters above all else: their survival. No memory or achievement is worth losing lives over. Some of his companions push back, struggling with the thought of abandoning everything they've built. Their emotions are raw, but Idol stays firm. He tells them there's no future here if they can't guarantee safety, no matter how much they love the settlement. His words strike deep, and soon voices of support rise around him. Companions pledge their loyalty, declaring their feelings openly. They promise to stay by his side no matter what. The bonds they've formed aren't just strong, they're unbreakable. Just as the group reaffirms their unity, the air shifts. A strange voice echoes around them, coming from every direction at once. Startled, they brace for another attack. But instead of hostility, the voice carries a desperate plea. A girl shouts for the fighting to stop, covering her face as she insists she only wants to talk. The group freezes as new figures step into the clearing. Idol calls for everyone to stop fighting and listen. Idol quickly understands this might be their only shot at peace. He tells his companions to stand down, reminding them that talking has to come before more bloodshed. From the shadows, the Demon King himself steps forward. His black wings spread wide, horns curling skyward, and every line of his armor radiates power beyond comprehension. His presence alone silences the clearing, demanding attention without a word. Fixing his sharp gaze on the group, he introduces himself with absolute authority. He is Black Roar, the Demon King and ruler of the entire demon realm. Yet, to everyone's surprise, his tone is polite as he thanks them for responding to his summons. The contrast between his fearsome form and courteous words unsettles the party. Whispers ripple through the crowd as someone dares to ask why the Demon King himself would come here. Black Roar answers firmly, "There is no mistake, no hidden envoy. As the highest authority among demons, he has come personally, because the responsibility is his alone." The group can't hide their unease. The Demon King's calm and courteous tone is the last thing they expected, and it leaves them unsure of how to respond. One companion awkwardly stammers out a reply, only for Black Roar to smile faintly and thank them in return, showing a strange kind of respect. Then he lays out his purpose with absolute clarity. As the ruler of all demons, he cannot allow certain actions to be ignored. By his own command, he has strictly banned the revival of dangerous factions, even if they were once part of his own race, if their sins were too great. His words carry the weight of final judgment. He calls out the chaos caused by the notorious vampire, acknowledging that their crimes nearly pushed both the human and demon worlds into open war. As Demon King, he cannot permit anyone, not even fellow demons, to disrupt that fragile balance. For those who threaten peace, he admits that execution may be the only answer. Black Roar carries the heavy responsibility of his crown, punishing the guilty while protecting peace between realms. Finally, the Demon King sits down opposite Idol, his massive wings folding neatly behind him. The room falls into silence. Every gaze locks on him as he begins to speak directly to Idol and the others. Black Roar lowers himself to the ground, bowing deeply in a gesture of complete humility. Idol watches him closely, his voice calm but firm as he says he wants to hear the circumstances behind such an act. The Demon King begins to explain the reality of his world. Demons, he says, have been fighting for a very long time. Their greatest enemies are the God tribe and the Dragon tribe, the two most powerful forces in existence. The gods rule the heavens, while the dragons possess destructive strength so immense they can shake the very foundation of all three realms. He admits that demons cannot rely on brute force alone. Against such overwhelming might, survival has always come down to strategy, clever tactics, and unique abilities. Physical strength, he says, is meaningless against opponents like these. Only by adapting have the demons managed to endure. For hundreds of years, this fragile balance between gods, dragons, and demons has been maintained. But he warns that the balance may not last. Something exists that could shift the scales, a legacy of ancient civilizations, said to hold the secret to neutralizing even the overwhelming power of the three great races. The Demon King narrows his eyes as he speaks of it. Whoever discovers this lost knowledge will decide the final outcome of the endless struggle. That's why so many seek remnants of the ancient world, believing that ultimate victory lies with whoever claims its secrets. For Idol and his companions, the Demon King's words reveal the true scale of the struggle they've been dragged into. This isn't just about their own survival anymore, it's about a clash between entire races, a conflict rooted in history and fate, with the outcome tied to the discovery of a secret left behind by ancient civilizations. The Demon King's voice carries the weight of centuries as he speaks. He recalls the past, when demons once stood proud and independent, never bowing to anyone. But over time, that pride was lost, and they were forced to kneel before humans, a species he once thought weak compared to his own. Rising to his full height, he addresses both his court and Idol's group. His tone sharpens as he declares that the demons need a new path forward. They've searched long and hard for a hidden power, a technique that could restore their glory. Yet, he admits, the demons he knew before, their kings and princes, would never humble themselves, never bow to another for the sake of survival. That, he says, is where humans differ. He's come to understand that true strength can come from setting aside pride, from being willing to bow if it means protecting what you hold dear. To him, that willingness is not weakness, but determination. Then he makes his purpose clear. What the demons truly seek is bond summoning, the very technique Idol mastered. If they could learn this, if he could teach it to his people, it might change the fate of the entire demon race. For Idol and his companions, the moment is staggering. The Demon King, a figure who represents unmatched power, is openly asking for help. By setting aside pride and tradition, he shows a different kind of strength, the resolve to sacrifice anything if it means ensuring the survival of his people. The Demon King sits upright, his aura still commanding, but the tone of the room shifts. He admits openly that he's willing to bow his head, even to humans, if it means saving his people. Pride alone, he says, won't keep the demon race alive. Idol listens in silence, taking in the weight of the confession. The Demon King makes it clear he isn't here to fight. Not this time. Instead, he asks for something no one expected. He wants Idol to teach him bond summoning. The Demon King bows so low his horns nearly scrape the ground, his voice firm as he begs Idol to grant them this knowledge. The Demon King tries out the bond summoning technique, but it doesn't work for him. It seems this power has something unique to humans, maybe something tied to the soul. Still, he sees potential for research. Idol steps in and assures him that he's willing to cooperate as much as possible. Hearing this, the Demon King relaxes and says that just being able to build a good relationship today is already a success. Idol takes it further. Since they're already experimenting, he suggests trying something new. Why not form a bond contract with the Demon King himself? Black Roar is surprised but also grateful, agreeing to the idea. They quickly form the bond, and Idol prepares to summon something. When the summoning activates, the result is shocking. A massive skyscraper rises out of the ground, towering over everything. Idol stares in disbelief while the Demon King can hardly believe what he's seeing. The enormous structure looks like nothing from their world, far larger than any royal castle, and it leaves everyone stunned. The bond with Black Roar kicks in, and a steel spire shoots up from the clearing, sharp crown, windows on every side, and big enough to make the capital's castle look small. It's exactly what it looks like, a skyscraper, the kind of fortress a Demon King could claim without blinking. Everyone's stunned, then they call it like it is. Out of everything Idol has summoned so far, this is the most refined and the largest. Even Black Roar admits he has never lived in anything this grand. Back at camp, their hand-built log house looks tiny next to it. Gablina jokes about moving in, and it actually sounds possible. The praise isn't just about size, it's about what this means. The technique just moved from pulling tools and supplies to creating full structures people can live in and plan around. The talk shifts to what to do with this. If these bond-made structures carry techniques from an older, more advanced civilization, then learning them isn't optional. It's the study that might give them an edge against the God tribe and the Dragon tribe, the same threat Black Roar talked about when he set pride aside and asked to work together. The skyscraper proves it, the door is open. The real question now is how fast they can learn to use what it offers. Idol ends the test with a practical call. The skyscraper is impressive, But it's too tall, too big, and not something they want sitting there. He dismisses it for now. What mattered was building goodwill with Black Roar. For daily life, the log house they built together still feels right. With the tension gone, Colleen steps up, excited. She's been waiting to make something of her own. The group leans in. Idol asks what she's thinking. Her answer is simple and solid: bread. She's had the idea ever since Pixie started producing flour: turn that white powder into something everyone can share. Idol winces at the wording and asks them to stop calling it that, but the mood's already lighter. After summoning a tower into the sky, this is exactly the reset they need. Use the Bound's gifts to bake their first loaves. The idea takes off immediately. Bread isn't just a treat. It boosts camp life, feeds summoned creatures, and anchors a real food plan they can support locally. She refuses to let the master keep living primitive, and sets the order herself. Before flour becomes loaves, they need proper heat. So the mission is an oven. Not a fire pit and not a basic stove, something that holds and spreads heat evenly so the crust breaks clean and the inside stays chewy. She talks like she's trained for this, confident enough to warn everyone not to underestimate the master's bread. Idol asks how far she's planning to take it. She smiles like she's launching a project and says the build is already mapped out in her head. It won't be instant, but the steps are clear. First, make bricks. Then shape the body. Then set up the fire path so the heat behaves. Work starts immediately. Colleen already checked the soil and found refractory clay. Her plan is straightforward: mix sand, water, and a binder, shape the bricks, dry them, then fire. Carts show up loaded with bricks before anyone finishes asking how. She says they're nearly cured and ready to use. Goblina grumbles about getting the job, but she's the right craftswoman. Colleen says it plainly: capable hands do capable work. The first bricks look a bit rough, but that's fine. They're strong, and they'll hold heat. The slime stacks fresh bricks with cheerful chirps while the forewoman moves everyone to the build site behind the house. They switch from talking materials to the structure itself. The kiln is next. With bricks piling up one after another, the oven stops being an idea and becomes a wall in the yard. By evening, the kiln is up behind the house, a domed, double-chamber build with an ash pit and a firebox laid in clean courses. The slime's concrete speeds things up, but they still agree to wait a few days so the joints cure properly. When the time's up, they open the site like a small festival. Colleen calls for flour. Idol summons a fine, even grind. She checks it like a baker and nods, good enough for proper loaves. Bowls go on the table. Directions are short and clear: flour, water, salt, yeast. Knead until the dough feels alive in the hands. They knead together and learn the dough's feel as it clings and stretches. The yeast, cultured from wild mountain grapes, goes in quietly, and the bowl starts to rise. Idol notices the softness and the sticky pull that promise air and spring. The slime drifts in, gets dusted by accident, and is gently guided back before it gets in the way. By the oven, Idol, Goblina, and Colleen lock into a routine: steady preheat, trays lined, portions shaped and scored. Heat rolls out as the door lifts. The first batch comes out, the crust crackles, and the whole camp pauses to breathe it in. Idol lifts a loaf off the peel. They tear the first loaf open. The crumb is white, soft, and springy, nothing like the hard rations they're used to. Idol shouts at the taste, and Colleen answers like a teacher: that softness is the yeast doing its job. They still manage a quick debrief while chewing. Colleen gathered the know-how. Goblina drove the build. Slippy and the others slotted in. The division of labor finally clicks. What started as "let's bake bread" now feels like a camp that can execute together. The cat-eared duo try to raid the tray, arguing fast hands and forest rules. Jokes fly about who runs the eating. A plan forms between bites: enjoy it warm now, then test how the flavor holds over time. Bread isn't just a treat, it's their first proper preserved food, and they'll track it loaf by loaf. Then the celebration stumbles. The basket is empty. Colleen counts in her head: 2 or 3 loaves should be left, and points at the usual suspects. Idol tries to calm her while the dog and cat pair lounge by the kiln, offended but not exactly convincing. This time, they insist they didn't do it. The trail goes past the house and ends with an aerial confession. Pixie floats in, crumbs on her smile, calling the bread fluffy and good. She ate most of it, she admits, maybe a bit more than planned. Colleen's smile drops, the kind that makes fairies hide. Treats are cancelled. Under their master, theft is a serious offense. She snaps the kitchen back into order and assigns Goblina on the spot. Mix a new batch, bake it properly, no exceptions. Idol blinks at how fast they switch from scolding to teamwork. Pixie shows up before the dough even rests. Idol asks the obvious, if she's here, did the plan in town work and is the prince pulling back? She tilts her head and gives an answer that freezes the room. She hasn't returned. She's still with Exer in the city. The pixie standing here is Pixie, and so is the one over there. Same person, two bodies. Idol tries to make sense of it, but it doesn't fit into normal rules. Colleen gives the framework. Fairies don't split, they're shared. Think of it as a group soul, one existence spread across multiple bodies, the same mind and memory wherever a fairy appears. It lands slowly. The pixie here is the one who made the contract, and the pixie in town is also that same contract, just with a different set of wings. Pixie confirms it, cheerful as ever. What one remembers, all remember. What one learns, all learn. Magic and effects travel along the same thread. She shows the bond mark and claims her share of the pact without hesitation. By that logic, Idol didn't just bond with one companion, he connected to every fairy that shares the soul. It's a wild idea, and Idol says so, but Pixie adds a limit before it gets out of hand. Inside the great tree sea, this shared self works. Outside the forest, fairies are different. The one pixie in many bodies rule only holds inside these woods. They prove it the easy way, by multiplying. Pixies drift in from every side, same ribbon, same grin, and each introduces herself with the same name. We are Pixie. I am Pixie. Nice to meet you. Idol stares as the air fills with wings. Requests stack fast, they want bread too. More hands go up. Me too, until the clearing feels like a festival. He tries to lock down the logic, different bodies, same soul, one chorus with many voices. He can't help asking what they are. The pixies just laugh. Their being here is the answer. Colleen holds the room steady. If taste travels through a shared soul, fine, let that be enough. Then she pushes them back to the point. Any news from the team in town? The fairies answer in their own labels. The one with Exer is Castle Pixie, because the trail through the border town led straight to the royal residence. Idol tries Town Pixie, but it doesn't stick. She was taken to the castle, under escort, on the orders of the stern, self-important man beside Exer. Saying no wasn't an option. Inside the castle, the thread goes straight to the person no one can ignore. The third princess, Maria Del, almost never appears in public, no balls, no tea events, no balcony waves, because she's been weak since childhood. The cough started early and never left. By her teens, it was constant, bad enough to cut days short. They've tried everything, famous doctors, rare medicines from far away, and strict routines that manage sunlight and shade. Nothing holds. The king's patience turns into a firm order wrapped like a plea, heal her. She stays in her rooms, curtains closed, a cup cooling by her hand, until a knock comes. The knock breaks the quiet. Maria Del hears the announcement and turns away. She doesn't want another visit, no more healers, no more hopeful messengers. The refusal is calm but final, worn down by years of the same result. Her attendant leans in and pleads. The visitor came on the king's command, bringing medicine from far away. At least meet him and give thanks. Maria Del sits up, braids slipping over her shoulder. The patience that kept her polite finally slips. Nothing is working, she says, and the room feels smaller. Even so, duty pulls her to her feet, caught between a father who won't give up and her own exhaustion with promises that never land. Maria Del lists what they've tried: rare herbs from overseas, a monster's liver, even an alchemist's water of life. None of it helped. Not worth the money or the hope. The door opens while she's speaking. The visitor steps in, bows, and apologizes for not waiting. He says the king's order leaves no time for ceremony. She stands and starts coughing, then apologizes for not being able to speak properly. The attendant rushes for water. The knight stays steady, sets down his case, and asks one question: if everything else failed, let this be different. Is what I brought useless? That hits harder than pity. His question brushes old wounds. Mariadel repeats what people have said about her: a burden, a waste of money, better out of sight for the country's sake. The worst of it came from her elder brother. She says it calmly, which makes it cut deeper. He winces and tells her not to repeat lies. She says healthy people don't understand what it costs to live indoors. He doesn't argue. He offers a point of connection instead. He has an older brother too, talented, praised, and losing pieces of his humanity on the way up. Geniuses get taught that skill erases fault. They end up stepping on people without noticing. Mariadel softens a little. Maybe he's right. But every princess has her own problems, and hers turned her into a walking apology. He shakes his head. Worshipping talent doesn't excuse cruelty, and it doesn't define her. That's the point he holds on. She's sick, he's ordinary, their brothers look higher, but they don't have to accept the idea that a life without spectacle is worthless. He doesn't argue her title, only the pressure she's putting on herself. Social events aren't a duty. The kingdom has plenty of royals to fill a ballroom. What matters is the challenge in front of each person. For an excellent life, that challenge is the one they choose. Her skipping a party won't break the court. Being born a princess doesn't lock her into a path. Marrying well and looking graceful doesn't guarantee happiness. That lands. If challenges differ, hers is clear: survive the illness, then build her own happiness from there. She studies him, then gets to the point. He brought medicine from the mountains. Will it cure her? He doesn't make promises. He says to let the medicine speak for itself, and calls someone out from behind the curtain. A small head peeks out: Pixie, sitting in a melon rind like a little boat, already chewing. Everyone reacts at once. The princess calls her cute, the knight winces about the fruit, and the fairy says it's delicious. Mariadel asks if she's really a fairy. The knight explains the rumor everyone knows: powdered fairy wings are said to be a cure-all. So the big question is on the table: are they going to tear them off? Mariadel shuts that down. If healing means harming a living being, she won't take it. She won't trade a life for her comfort. That changes the room. The knight says that kind of kindness suits royalty more than any ceremony. Then he shows the alternative they brought. This fairy is under a proper contract with a magician and can provide medicine without harm. No wings torn, no bargain that crosses a line. Pixie gives a thumbs up, and Mariadel's first real smile shows. Pixie glows and starts the work she came for. Fine white powder forms in her hands, medicine for the throat. She says it straight: the cough is the main problem, so they'll quiet that first and make each day easier. Not a miracle, just a solid start. The knight keeps it steady. A long illness won't vanish in a day. Go slow, let the body catch up, tackle the cough without forcing the rest. Eat well, get sunlight, take short walks when there's energy, don't rely on medicine alone. It's simple advice court life rarely gives, and for the first time the steps feel doable. He says he isn't a doctor, just a knight sent to help. Then he offers what doctors never do: time. If allowed, he'll stay and support the long recovery. The room goes quiet while she takes it in, Pixie circling like a small promise, and the path forward finally looks real, gentle and steady. Pixie's powder eases Mariadel's throat, and the room finally settles. She realizes she never asked the visitor's name. He bows with a hand to his chest: Exer. Then he adds the context: he's in the castle under watch. He refused to hand over information. Prince Mashuhata wasn't pleased, and until he complies, he's basically under house arrest. Titles fall into place fast. Word spreads that Exer will serve as the princess's personal knight during her recovery. Pixie brings the news back to camp wearing a grin. Idol cracks that it's a fitting assignment for a distinguished man, and he steers it back to business with a quick check for any other updates. The headline is straightforward: the princess can finally breathe easier, and Exer is staying on to keep it that way. Exer keeps it straight about the brother he left to find. He'd been called useless and cast aside, but the plan was simple: find his younger brother and protect him like an older brother should. By the time he caught up, the kid had already surpassed him, stronger, steadier, and wiser than the rumors. Exer laughs at himself and redirects that old duty to Mariadel instead. If she agrees, he'll spend that time on her recovery. She studies him and asks what's really driving this. Is it because she reminds him of that brother? He shrugs and gives an answer that doesn't flatter prodigies. The gifted can forget what hardship feels like. She lives with weakness every day, and that gives her a kind of understanding the healthy don't have. He won't promise miracles, only help, and a plan they can follow step by step. If she wants to continue, he'll help. That lands, and something lifts in her chest. Mariadel says yes. Pixie comes back chattering like a courier bird. The melon was great, the princess is adorable, and she won't be able to visit camp for a while. Too many eyes at the castle, especially the troublesome prince. She also brings a message from Exer, delivered with her usual sideways cheer. Idol listens, weighs it, and accepts the conclusion: the second brother is more than capable, let the elder stay as he is. If the prince needs a stepping stone, he can stand on the one already under him. Leave Idol out of it. Idol then asks if the prince has returned to the capital. Someone says to ask Exer, but Pixie squints and says her reception is from a strange place. The line is fuzzy. Idol stands. If the signal's messy, he'll clean it up himself. Everyone knows what that means. A chance meeting with the prince would wreck the plan. Colleen says it straight: if they cross paths, everything collapses. Idol nods, but the choice is set. He'll move carefully, hug the edges, and gather what the camp needs to stay ahead. Colleen brings up something practical: the guild exam. She reminds Idol it's time to check the promotion results. He already took the exchange test for a rank up and was waiting on a reply. Class A would mean a transfer to the central district. She's confident the answer should arrive today. She grabs his hand and they head out with the group. At the guild, the clerk looks like he's been waiting at the door. He scolds Idol for being late, hands over a stack of notices, and lowers his voice for the real update. A message came from Idol's older brother. The kingdom's bureaucracy, and the prince along with it, has turned into a constant headache. The note says some things won't move unless Idol shows up at the royal capital. The clerk jokes he's close to treason saying it out loud, then shrugs: prince or not, the royal family makes everything harder. The point is clear as he passes the paperwork: promotion on one table, the capital's pull on the other, and Idol will have to choose what to answer first. The guild master cuts the tension with straight talk. Exer checked everything before he left, so the camp can breathe for now. He sizes up Idol's family and updates an old judgment: maybe they're not all trouble. As for the prince, he shrugs again: still a student, still a piece other people move. Idol smiles at the part that matters. Whatever the capital says, his brother is a good man, he's proud of him. They shift to the exam. Colleen is ready to celebrate a rank up and even jokes about skipping straight to S rank. The guild master throws up his hands, asks them to listen, and gives the result without build-up. Idol's A rank promotion was rejected. The room goes quiet. Plans hang in the air while the pressure from the capital sits just outside the door. Colleen reacts first. If the guild rejected Idol, there has to be a reason, and her hand is already twitching towards summoning armor in the lobby. Idol stops her. The guild master levels with them. Their backing wasn't enough. Someone leaned on the process. Colleen answers cold and firm: anything tied to her master is her business, because her master is everything to her. Idol connects it fast. Only one person would block an adventurer's promotion from the shadows. He doesn't care about rank, but the interference is a message. Colleen tilts her head, ready to remove the culprit if he says the name. Far away, the message gets a smile at the Royal Night School. An instructor hears that his former student's A rank was stopped. He approves. Watching Idol succeed off the path they picked for him is intolerable. From his satisfied grin, this won't be the last time the capital tries to keep Idol exactly where they want him. At the night school, a staff meeting rolls under stained glass. A rushed instructor reports he ran around everywhere and handled it. The teachers murmur approval. At the lectern, a bearded veteran clasps his hands and flattens the room. There must be no mistakes, no sloppiness, no surprises. It's more than bureaucracy. It's a warning. The order they were given, whatever strings were pulled, must hold with no seams showing. Behind the scenes, the faculty runs the fix like a checklist. They mapped which nobles fund the Adventurers Guild and leaned on each one until a price came back. Deal made, blocks certain promotions, and the school will reconsider grades and admit affiliates tied to those who helped. Someone jokes that retired instructors are just left them a mess. The bearded lead doesn't mind. The targets didn't reach A rank, and the Academy's image, status over merit, stays intact. They turn Idol into both story and leverage. The principal says that Idol is from the Jiraiya family. They list the old demonstrations where he always stood just behind Prince Mashuda, the golden, of his year, overshadowed but clearly gifted. With older brothers who graduated at the top, they say, there's no way the youngest is incompetent. A few junior teachers pitch a show, condemn the fool who expelled him, stage an apology, restore his honor. The principal shuts it down with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Bringing him back to the night school is a bigger honor than any adventurer rank. Keep him where they can measure his steps. He rewrites the past as kindness. Idol skipped classes. The expulsion was a whip of love, a lesson to lift him up, approved without error. Now that he's proven himself outside, the principal calls him. Ready to recover. Inside, qualified to return, expected to rise as long as he rises under their banner. Desks thump, voices agree, and the room warms itself with flattery like they've done him a favor. The principal makes the call. Bring Idol in to plead his case immediately. Not to honor his independence, but to fold it back under their roof. The staff clap along and call it wisdom, but the plan is obvious: stall him outside, lure him inside, and call it kindness. The summons shows up with polite words and a hidden catch. The bearded principal offers to allow Idol back into night school like he's doing him a favor. Idol hears the angle immediately and sighs. Of course it's framed to box him in. He sticks to his rule: if they pull him into a fight he won't dodge it, but he'll choose the terms. The principal tries to dress an insult as a favor, and Colleen bristles. When he sneers that Idol's place isn't some filthy adventurer guild, her eyes go hard and she's ready to wipe the board clean for her master. Idol shuts it down with a calm hand. This is a materials run, not a war, and if a fight comes anyway, he's the one who sets the terms. The guild master steps between them. Adventurers earn ground with their own strength, he says. They don't bow to noble thumbs on the scale. Colleen points right back. Isn't he angry about being forced to change his own policies? Nobles twist things in the dark. Will they answer in the open? Idol sets the frame. If they're offering a fight, what's the price? Colleen's answer is simple. She buys fights at what they're worth. Then it's settled. Set the value, set the terms, and win where everyone can see. The guildmaster proposes a clean plan that leaves no room for interference. The victory condition should be undeniable. Promote Idol to A rank in public, or higher if needed. Merit should be the arena, not backroom ledgers. If the night school wants to pull strings, they would have to do it in front of the city. He outlines the opening. The written exam was ceremonial, but the nobles behind the guild made a mistake that can be used. If Idol asserts promotion on firm grounds, blocking it becomes difficult. Colleen suggests reporting the vampire they defeated, asking for recognition based on that kill. The guild master explains that a corpse that turned to ash provides no proof and therefore no credit. He understands their disappointment. Colleen immediately pivots, proposing to call the demon king who appeared and have him testify that Idol defeated him. Idol reacts with visible alarm, while the guild master is amused. That level of boldness is why he enjoys working with them. He then presents the real strategy. A rank is too small for the scale ahead. The deeper regions of the Great Tree Ocean are stranger and more dangerous, and if every hazard Idol has already survived were tallied, he would skip ranks without hesitation. The guild master states that he wants Idol at S rank for a more fundamental reason. Idol asks whether skipping A rank is even practiced. The guild master turns toward the open door and explains the development goal. The ideal Great Tree Ocean is awakening, and the world will require someone with a rank high enough to move people and resources without waiting for permission. If the school attempts to pull strings, they will be pulling at air. The plan is larger than a letter on a card, and the first step is to produce proof so substantial that it creates its own momentum. The plan locks onto a frontier no court can quietly control, the ideal Great Tree Ocean, a place so vast and strange that even maps guess. The guild master explains that clearing a path and pushing the boundary even a little would shake the world. Updating the exploration range sends news across kingdoms, past committees, and straight to the king's desk. No dean or noble can smother headlines that large. Idle weighs it and accepts the trade-off. Quiet days would end, but interference from the night school would end with them. The guild master lists precedents. Adventurers who charted new islands and crews who reached the last floor of a dungeon earned A rank, sometimes S rank. Subjugating a disaster-class monster or expanding the unknown is the recognized route upward, not a signature made in private. The guild master adds that even without conquering anything, pushing the frontier counts toward promotion. Idle asks how far that goes and whether it reaches A class. The guild master answers that with new, verified information, it does. The Great Tree Ocean still sits at the edge of rumor, turning stories into charts turns charts into rank. Then the warning lands. If it is that straightforward, timing still matters. The guild master says the expedition is worth doing, but not yet. The ocean is not only dangerous, it is watched. The moment Idle moves for the tree line, eyes from the capital will follow, and whatever waits under those branches will not be the only thing hunting. Colleen does not back down. If Idle is as capable as she knows, then only an S-class move fits. She tells the guild master to propose a plan that can change Great Tree Ocean's strategy itself. He toys with the thought that a base inside the ocean would shift everything, then laughs at the scale of it even as he says it. Idle removes the word impossible and says there is a place. They stand on a rise facing the ideal Great Tree Ocean. Idle gestures to the clearing they carved and the cabins already standing. The proposal is simple: establish an activity base inside the unexplored domain, a place for adventurers to gather, rest, and push deeper without long supply lines. The camp takes it in and leans forward. More people than their small group would come. Idle confirms it. Food, water, and consumables would be stockpiled on site. Materials could be cached without fear of raiders. Teams could resupply between forays instead of retreating to the cities. This would not be a banner planted for show, but a working hub that keeps expeditions alive. Deep in the Great Tree Ocean, they would build it as a promise that the frontier can be made walkable, one solid step at a time. Idle looks over the clearing and admits he used to avoid people. Old memories made solitude feel safer. Gablina expects a leader to hate strangers trampling through. He explains that since leaving the night school, everyone he met reached out without asking for anything back. Exa treats him like a brother, the easygoing guild man offered help, bond-summoned companions chose him, and even the roaming slime chirps like family. Surrounded by people who give without demanding, he decides to stand properly on his own 2 feet and become reliable enough that no one has to worry on his behalf. That is why S-Class matters, not for show, but so the base can open without apology, and his word can shield the people around him. He says it with a laugh that reads as resolve: no more excuses, no more lone wolf habits. Colleen answers that if this is the goal, no one objects. She is already moving as if it is decided. Familiars follow their master's decision, and this master has chosen forward. Gablina flashes a playful fang and asks for the plan. Idle looks from face to face and tells them what they are: important companions, not pieces. The path will be hard, but it will be theirs, built with open hands, a shared table, and a banner high enough to shelter everyone who helped him stop walking alone. They start with shelter. Idle decides on a house first, remembering the last time they raised a cabin by hand. Gablina groans about her arms, and Colleen cuts in that this is not a hobby shack. If the base is the foundation of Idle's climb to S-Class, they cannot build halfway. Idle agrees and reaches for power, not planks. A bond sigil blooms, the clearing darkens, and the shadow of a city falls across the grass. Stone rises, glass takes the sun, and a skyscraper stands where there was open field a heartbeat earlier, a true tower fit for a capital. Wind pulls at his cloak as he looks up at what he called, and he admits it plainly, it is incredible. Colleen looks thrilled, saying the tower feels like a cathedral raised in her master's name. She adds that anyone who sees it will feel awe and, beneath that, respect for the one who built it. Idol waves it off. He did not summon a monument to glorify himself. Gablina circles the giant with a practical eye. She asks whether this could even be a residence, since it looks large enough to house 1,000 adventurers, and wonders how long it would take just to climb the stairs. That size creates another issue. Set next to their log homes, the base looks like a toy village. She points at their cabin, now dwarfed by glittering walls, and admits it feels overshadowed again. Colleen, completely earnest, calls the scale a strategy, a structure that steals breath at first sight and ties reverence to Idol's banner. He waves off the praise, cheeks warm. He wanted sturdiness, not worship. They hang between sense and spectacle until Gablina snaps her fingers with a fong-bright grin. If one bond can raise a tower, then two together might fix the balance. She proposes a combined bond summoning. The wind lifts from the great tree ocean, as if the forest itself is listening. Colleen studies the monolith and for once holds back. She says that anything born from the Demon King's bond might be too grand. She suggests thinning it with something humbler. Idol agrees on the spot. He proposes mixing bonds, tempering the Demon King's extravagance with Gablina's practicality. As the glow clears, a small 2-story building stands where the tower's shadow had been, plain, practical, with wide windows. Gablina sets her hands on her hips like a foreman pleased with a shift well spent. Idol checks the plaque only he can see and almost stumbles. The source is Goblin. The inside catches him off guard. Bright halls, clean floors, a faint disinfectant smell. Colleen points out room after room with surprised approval. Hygiene is strict. There are cold rooms, egg incubators, and ventilators arranged with the tidy logic of a clinic. She wonders if the design treats livestock with real care. Idol gives up on guessing goblin priorities. He laughs and makes the call, not adopting it as the base. It's useful, but it isn't welcoming, and an inn meant to bring in adventurers from different nations needs both. The sigils hum again as he reaches for a different pairing. Slappy bounces at his boots, eager. Idol widens the circle to mix power with warmth and sets the intent. Build a place that feels like people belong the moment they step in. The compound summon pours a spiraling tube into a pool with a roar, forming a massive water slide. Idol rides it once, shoots out grinning with his hair slicked back, and admits the water flow feels good, but the choice stays practical and it is set aside because a rest base is not an amusement spot. The next summon replaces the space with cushions, warm fur, and a chorus of meows. It is a cat cafe born from combined bonds, supremely cozy, with toys and treats ready and the whole room humming with comfort. He lets the calm sit for a moment, and then sets it aside, because cozy is not the same as a working way station. Another ripple sets them beside a fenced field with a sign that reads Yeshiva. Big wolves leap and clear hurdles, and one comes forward expectantly. Idol throws a disc and the wolf sails after it with its tail high. The place heals the heart, and he smiles at that, but the verdict remains the same, because a base for tired adventurers needs function first. That is the pass they make in order, a water slide that is a blast but impractical, a cat cafe that is dangerously comfortable, and a wolf run that soothes the spirit, each of them tested and enjoyed, then left behind so the base can do the job it is meant to do. Pixie's name rises like a banner, and the clearing turns into an amusement park. Dreamland arches over the entrance, a coaster curls behind bright facades, and Idol points out that the whole thing feels wrong. Colleen plants her hands on her hips and accepts it with a sigh. What arrives on a summon has to be handled. She wonders if it is another remnant from an old era, while Pixie peers from the sign and worries that fairy-tuned summons keep producing dangerous results. Colleen switches into hostess mode and guides Idol toward the ride she names the Law Emperor's Emerald Spring Mountain. She fits on a headband, settles him into a carved car, and makes sure the safety bar is down. The track lurches and drops. Wind tears at their cloaks. Colleen laughs through the turns while Idol clings and shouts as the car rattles along the painted rails. They stop with brakes squealing and catch their breath, then reach the same conclusion already stamped on the plan. It is fun, too fun, and it does not move the base forward. Even if the polish comes from Colleen's summoning skill, an amusement park remains an amusement park. They leave the glittering sign behind and turn back toward a place where adventurers can actually rest. Colleen bows her head and admits her summoning factor is too strong, pushing outcomes towards spectacle. Idol calls a stop to the summoning and lets the glow fade. For a moment they stand together in the quiet, facing the same question, what to build next, and how to build it so it serves the base they need. Idol chooses preparation over magic. He gathers the group, faces circling his, and checks that they are ready. Nods go around, Slappy wobbles with excitement, and he signals the reveal. Whatever they settled, blueprints, task splits, and a hand-build order, is enough to get moving. Evening pools under the trunks at the tree line when footsteps approach. Idol raises a hand in welcome and greets his older brother. He leads his brother along a deer path where the canopy breaks in bands of late light. He says the first step is to make the old man acknowledge him, half teasing and half earnest. His brother pushes back that the rumor cannot be real and asks whether he truly built an adventure base deep in the forest. Idol admits the idea came from the guild master, and that no one expected him to follow through. They step around a root like a rib from the earth. The elder finds his pace as Old Quest surface, the rookie who needed a hand at every fork, and then glances at Idol and swallows the memory. The former noble student now walks through hidden places like he belongs there. He says he will not go easy. Trust is there, but a tent will not move guild headquarters. A base in the Ideal Great Forest is a claim, and claims require proof. Idol answers that he will understand when he sees it, and if it fails the guild standard he should cut it without mercy. No favors and no strings. They crest a low rise and the elder stops, taking in the lines Idol and his friends have driven into the wild. He sets his hands on his hips, braces, and tells him not to let him down. Idol gives a single nod and takes the weight the way he should, on his back, aimed forward. Branches open and pale bodies flow through the trees, hellwolves, apex of the great forest. The elder warns they are dangerous even here, but Idol steadies him and checks on the old man while the pack circles with low hackles and bright eyes. He drops to a knee and greets a broad flank like an old companion. He works them with ease. One sits and another offers a paw. The big one lowers and sets both forepaws lightly over his head in a gentle show of trust. The elder can only stare, watching a terror of the great tree see behave like a trained hound. Idol points out the collar at the ruff and explains the rule that comes with it. A collared beast will not attack, and that warning will go wide so adventurers do not panic. Awe and irritation cross the elder's face in the same breath, and he concedes that Idol has truly tamed it. Idol moves in one smooth motion onto the hellwolf's back. From here they ride and daylight is enough at this speed. The elder hesitates for a heartbeat, then grips the fur, vaults up, and finds the rhythm as the pack launches. The hellwolves carry them like pale thunder through the trees. Idol points ahead, almost boyish with pride, and calls his brother's attention forward. The pack skids, leaves spray, and the elder's shout jumps into the canopy as he clutches the saddle of fur. He blinks, then really sees it, a clean band of stones set into the forest floor, laid neat and deliberate. It is a stone-paved path in the forest. Idol laughs and owns it. He laid it to serve as a guide road. It is only halfway done, but it is enough to tie wilderness to purpose. He tells his brother they are heading to the base, and that they are already halfway there. Work unfolds along the route. Goblina is felling trees in clean bites. The iron golem under Colleen's control is placing cut stone and tamping it flat in a steady rhythm. They take the last bend and the elder's breath catches. A courtyard opens between solid log buildings, and beyond that a tall stone curtain wall holds the wild back. Steps rise to porches, windows sit square and bright, paving carries right to the threshold. He looks from the road under his boots to the homes around the square and lets out a single, disbelieving laugh. He admits he expected nothing more than a simple hut. The guildmaster says this is more than enough progress. The base sits there as an answer, roads that reach it, walls that guard it, rooms that wait for tired feet and better maps. On the elder's face, surprise loosens into the acknowledgement he promised to give only if the forest proved it could hold a home. From the gate, the scale finally lands. The elder tries to count roofs and gives up. There are more than 10 houses. Idle scratches his cheek, a little sheepish, and explains that the goblins felled so many trees that one more cabin kept turning into a street. With this many lodgings, they can host full parties at once and still leave room to actually rest. He leads the way along the inner lane and pats the wall that rings the settlement. The sheen gives it away. It is not stacked rock. Slappy's summons mixed and set the aggregate into true concrete, the kind of facing expected in a capital, raised here to keep monsters on the far side of the trees. The elder runs a palm across it and has to admit what it means. Defenses like this change the math. This is a frontier outpost that can hold. Idle turns with the grin of someone bringing home a perfect report and asks for the verdict. The elder starts to answer that it is more than effort, that the quality shows in the clean courtyard drains and the way the corner towers lock the wall, then stops and points. There is a problem. Until it is fixed, the base cannot function as a resting place. The thing every adventurer expects the instant they step off a killing road is missing. Out here, drinking water is the first rule. Without it, the whole plan stalls. Idle does not argue. He calls for Slappy. The little slime bounces forward, swells, and pours a clear stream from its gleaming body. The first splash hits the elder's cheek. He sputters and then laughs as buckets fill fast and cold. Idle states the point. With this, they can draw clean water whenever they need it. One foundation stone set. Colleen arrives with a basket still warm. Fresh loaves crack as she breaks them, steam lifting into the courtyard. She urges them to eat with nothing left over. Gablina leans in with a tilted grin, noting she mixed in homemade dried meat. The elder pauses halfway to a bite and asks what kind. Idle answers too cheerfully that it is large centipede. He braces, bites, and his eyes go wide. It is delicious. Gablina shrugs at his confusion and explains that if it is an insect or a plant, the boss can form a bond with the species later, so there is no guilt and no waste. It is practical and sustainable. Idle nods agreement. With water secured, bread shared, and the wall steady around them, Idle tips his head toward the square with a quiet smile and asks for the call. The base no longer only looks like a resting place. It functions like one. Idle spreads his arms in the courtyard with Colleen and Gablina beside him and lays it out. They can provide water and food. He turns like a host unveiling a new inn and frames it simply for the people who will use it. For adventurers, it is a solid base. The elder tries to answer, but the words tangle, pride and shock wrestle across his face and come out in fragments as he struggles to catch up with what he is seeing. He steadies and grips Idle by the shoulders, eyes bright, and says it exceeds the minimum. Idle admits he aimed for basic supplies and simple defenses, but the elder sweeps an arm to include the paved lanes, the concrete walls, the multiple lodges, the stocked stores, and now the steady water and fresh bread. He declares the base excessively well prepared, the stubborn appraiser giving way to the veteran who knows what keeps people alive. He draws breath and makes it formal. Measured here in the great tree ocean, with this level of self-sufficiency and protection, and with Idle as architect, the value matches an S-class achievement. Decision made, his grin slips younger, and he says they will report to Central that a new adventurer base has been established inside the great tree ocean. For a heartbeat the square holds still. Then the weight that rode Idle's shoulders lifts and sets into something steadier, the knowledge that the path he chose, to open the doors and build a place others can lean on, has been recognized in the one language the world does not ignore. The base is not only real. It counts. From here, the frontier has a front porch. Days pass, and word runs like wine through leaves. From the tree line steps a lone scout with a bow at her back and curiosity bright in her eyes. A-rank adventurer Shannon, already chasing the rumor that someone built a new base deep inside the great tree ocean. Shannon hikes with her notebook out, chasing her favorite kind of mystery. The great tree ocean still has blank spots, old ruins here and there, and monsters that only seem to be born in this place. That's the puzzle she wants to crack. A new base outside the usual routes is a big deal. It means someone pushed past the line on the map and set up where everyone else still guesses. If that report's real, there's probably a fresh find waiting just beyond the old boundary. She sets the goal and moves. She will investigate. Somewhere under this canopy, a square of log houses and concrete walls is ready to welcome whoever reaches it next. She gives herself a quick pep talk and locks in. New discovery. Deep in the Ideal Great Tree Ocean, no losing steam. She lines the rumor up with the terrain, decides she's close, and even smiles at the idea that a wolf could guide the last stretch. In this forest, that thought isn't even that silly. The brush stirs and she stops cold. For a second, it feels like the rumor was bait. Then the shape resolves: stripes, heavy muscle, sun on a wide belly like a lazy cat. It isn't a cat, it's a medi tiger. Fast, relentless, the kind that doesn't quit once it chooses a target. Shannon spots the detail that changes everything. The tiger has a collar. It yawns like it owns the road, while another watches from the shade without any threat. She starts to pull her bow, then stops and studies the scene. A predator showing its belly on the approach path means the rules here have shifted. If monsters are lounging tame this close to the route, the rumor isn't just true, the frontier itself has moved, and the reason is up ahead. The tiger gets up and pads over with the collar bright against its ruff. The guild notice said collared wolves are safe. Seeing that tag on a tiger pushes the same logic forward. It sniffs, and she feels the detection skill brush over her like static. Instead of bristling, it gives a quick cheek rub against her hip like a greeting. A warm, sweet scent rises from her gear. Something slipped in on the road without her noticing. Before she can sort it out, the tiger slides behind her and lifts her by the back of her collar with surprising care. Her feet leave the ground as the big cat turns and sets off at an easy trot. It should be terrifying, but the carry is gentle and steady. She isn't being hunted, she's being handled like precious cargo. The realization lands while the forest streams past. If the monsters here were collars and guide instead of attack, then someone rewrote the rules. And with the cat delivering her like a kitten, she's on a straight ride to the person who did it. The tiger trots Shannon through the trees like a proud courier and sets her down in front of a walled square of log houses and bright stone. So the rumor was real. A cattered receptionist waves her in with an easy welcome. As long as there's no trouble, guests are fine at the master's base. Shannon gives the tiger a grateful pat and asks for a softer ride next time, and the receptionist slides over a thank you snack for the helpful child that carried her. Hospitality switches to basics. There's an entrance fee, plus a quick rundown of how the base works. Water refills are free thanks to Captain Slappy. Snacks and small dishes are pay per piece, and a full meal has a labor charge, so it's not cheap. The menu changes with the chef's mood, Gablina says, twirling a ladle like it's rank and insignia. Next come the rest rules. Sleeping quarters are split by gender so adventurers can actually relax. If someone insists on sharing with a specific man, there's an extra fee. Shannon, still a little embarrassed after her feline airlift, waves it off. She'll sleep solo. Around her, the courtyard hums with low chatter and the clink of cups. The place feels exactly like it promises, a real haven in the deep forest, where even the monsters wear collars and pitch in. Shannon gets ushered inside, and before she even finishes gawking at the walls, the cat-eared receptionist points her to today's rotating attraction. Dreamland is open. Cut to Shannon on a painted horse, hair in the wind, laughing because the merry-go-round is way more fun than it looks. After a snack and a walk along the ramparts, she spots Idle crossing the yard with fresh linens. He's happy to see her settling in, and he keeps the pitch simple: safe beds, endless clean water, and hot baths refilled every day by Slappy. Those basics are what win people over. Colleen tries to push for mixed bathing since there are private rooms and gets a firm shutdown. Rules are rules. Idle moves on and kneels by a fresh piece of summoned gear, an automatic grinder, because weapons need care too. If the base can serve meals on time, it should keep blades sharp on schedule. Dusk settles over the square when a collared hellwolf pads up wearing a very serious face. Idle crouches, rubs its cheek, and listens. The wolf huffs, sets its stance, and locks eyes with him. Idle understands and asks the wolf to lead him to the problem.